Some of these you'll only find in Japan. You'll only find stuff this cute in Japan. Laser cleaning technology. No chemicals, no damage, just rust and grime vaporizing in real time. Hands-free, underground, and genuinely genius. Tap your foot and the smart bin pops up from the ground for your trash. Seismic isolation bearings. They let the entire building slide horizontally during an earthquake, absorbing the shock instead of fighting it. This is why Japan's towers stay standing. On these Osaka trains, when certain doors aren't needed during off-peak hours, extra seats literally descend from the ceiling where the doors were. More space, exactly when it's needed. This washroom mat is made of stone, and it absorbs water instantly. Order iced coffee in Japan and you don't get ice cubes. The coffee comes inside a solid block of ice. It melts slowly, keeping the flavor strong to the last sip. And when the coffee's gone, shave the ice and eat it like dessert. Bunion pain is real, and most solutions look terrible. Japan redesigned the shoe itself, normal on the outside, but inside a small dial adjusts it to your exact foot. No laces, no pressure, and it actually looks good. Most caregivers still lift patients by hand, risky for both. Japan focuses on no-lift care, simple tools and smart techniques that move patients safely with their dignity intact. A built-in magnifier shows the nail up close. No more guessing, no more cutting too deep. Perfect cut every time. Water in the bottle, formula stored in a compartment above it. When it's feeding time, twist the top and the formula drops in. Parents can prep multiple bottles ahead without mixing a single one early. In some Japanese airports, you enter your destination on a screen, and this autonomous vehicle drives you there itself. Some models will even hold a conversation on the way. Hot soup stones. If your ramen starts cooling down, drop the heated stone in. It warms the soup right back up without changing the flavor. Hot from first bite to last. Select your phone model, place it inside, and this vending machine applies a flawless screen protector in seconds. Not a single bubble. Drive onto the platform, step out, and watch a robotic system lift your car into a massive tower. When you're leaving, press a button, and the machine brings it right back. Some stores in Japan killed the checkout line completely. AI cameras track every item you grab. You take what you need and walk straight out. No scanning, no waiting. Traffic safety is taken seriously here. Kids learn the proper way to cross the road from a young age. At home, in kindergarten, and in school. Japan's new fridge, one light touch, and it opens itself. At some restaurants in Japan, they don't tally your order. They scan the empty plates on your table, and that's the bill. Pick any coin. They have them from countries all over the world, and in minutes, the staff turns it into a custom ring you can actually wear. Motorized bike tracks built right next to the stairs. Push your bike onto the track, walk up normally, the ramp does the lifting. Japan is a country where simple things are done with care. In Japan, after tiling a bathroom, they release fish into it before paying the contractor. If the fish follow the water and stop right at the drain, the slope is perfect, and he gets paid. The fish are the quality inspectors. Foldable smartphones, a full screen that folds into your pocket. Multitasking on the go just hits different. Japan's art and stationery stores are a different world. One store can take hours to explore, and your wallet won't survive without a plan. Customer service in Japan is on another level, always there exactly when you need a hand. In Japan, napping at work isn't laziness. It can be a badge of honor. It's called inamuri, being present while asleep. A short nap at your desk is read as proof you've been working hard. Japan just completed 158 kilometers of road construction using AI robots and 5G. Not a single human worker involved. At this cafe, people with severe paralysis work from home, operating robots that welcome guests, take orders, and chat with customers through built-in cameras and speakers. Real jobs, real connection. Japan is training this robot for warehouse work, picking packages and placing them on the conveyor, exactly like a human logistics worker would.
Ventilated indoor smoking rooms. Engineering around a conflict. The standard global policy framework for indoor smoking arrives at two positions. You may smoke here, or you may not smoke here. One group wins. One group loses. The conflict is resolved by choosing a side and accepting that the other side is dissatisfied. Japan, which has historically high smoking rates combined with a hospitality culture where exclusion can carry significant social weight, arrived at a third position. Designated indoor smoking rooms found in airports, office buildings, pachinko parlors, shopping centers, and major transit hubs are sealed, negatively pressured, independently ventilated environments. Negative pressure means that when a door opens, air moves into the room rather than out of it. Vertical car parking towers, the garage that builds upward. In Tokyo, Osaka, and Yokohama, where urban land costs reach figures that make most financial comparisons seem absurd, the surface area required to park a car represents a significant portion of real estate value. Building outward to accommodate cars is expensive. Building underground is expensive. Japan built upward. Automated vertical parking towers work on a mechanical carousel principle. You drive onto a ground-level platform and exit the car. A system of elevators and rotating platforms carries the vehicle to an available bay, which may be located on any of 15 or more floors above street level. When you return, you insert your ticket at the ground-level terminal. The tower locates your specific vehicle, positions it on the elevator, and delivers it to ground level facing the exit direction. The entire retrieval typically takes under 2 minutes. The land footprint of a vertical parking tower accommodating 40 vehicles is approximately equivalent to 3 or 4 standard surface parking spaces. The tower goes up. The cars go into it. The street gets those 4 spaces back. Japan took a problem that most dense urban environments manage by building bigger structures that still sprawl horizontally and rotated it 90 degrees. The solution was always available. Fitting 40 cars into the space of 4 just required thinking about the space differently and then building an elevator system that could handle something heavier than a person. Heated shoe insoles. Warmth from the ground up. Cold feet are winter's quiet failure point. Jackets trap heat, hats seal it in, but the foot, pressed against frozen ground, is left to endure. Japan engineered the gap. Heated insoles, widely sold by brands like Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, fit invisibly inside standard shoes. Some use thin electric elements powered by small batteries. Others rely on iron oxidation, similar to disposable hand warmers, producing steady heat for hours. The insight is simple but precise. Heat loss often enters through the sole, not the air. Traditional winter clothing insulates the body, but ignores this conductive pathway. By targeting the exact point of loss, the insole solves what coats cannot. It is not bulkier gear or heavier layering, just a thin intervention placed where cold actually begins. Coffee and edible waffle cones. The cup that disappears. Specialty coffee stalls across Japan serve espresso not in a ceramic cup, not in a paper cup with a cardboard sleeve, but in a small waffle cone. The interior of the cone is coated with a thin layer of chocolate before the coffee goes in, acting as both a flavor addition and a structural waterproof seal that gives the cone integrity for the duration of a standard espresso. You drink your coffee, you eat the cup. The result eliminates the disposable cup entirely. No paper, no lid, no sleeve, no recycling bin required. The interior of the cone is coated with a thin layer of chocolate before the coffee goes in, acting as both a flavor addition and a structural waterproof seal that gives the cone integrity for the duration of a standard espresso. It is to exist as waste. The sequence is objectively good. Hot espresso followed immediately by warm chocolate-lined waffle served by someone who thought carefully about what happens after the coffee is gone. The format works specifically for espresso-sized volumes, and Japan's response to this constraint is simply to serve more espresso sizes, which is its own separate improvement on coffee culture. The edible cone requires no new infrastructure, no supply chain overhaul, and no behavioral change from the customer beyond a second bite at the end. It sits in front of every coffee chain in the world as an available option that almost none of them have chosen to take. The cup was always the most wasteful part of a takeaway coffee. Japan removed it by making it delicious.
Which one was your favorite? Drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching.
Japan doesn't just solve problems. It solves them in ways that feel like cheating. Toilets made of glass you can see straight through before you walk in. Roads that physically play music when you drive at the right speed. Vending machines that unlock themselves during earthquakes and give everything away for free. None of this is concept art. None of it is in a lab. It's just an ordinary Tuesday in Japan. Today we're counting down.
Some of these you'll only find in Japan. A remote kissing device for long-distance couples, invented and patented by a Japanese university student. The mouth-shaped module picks up the kiss on one side and transfers the exact gesture to the module on the other side. In Japan, there's a vending machine that doesn't just sell soda, it wants a hug first. Wrap your arms around it, and it rewards you with a free Coca-Cola. No coins, no app, just genuine affection. Inside a Japanese library, there's a tower that shouldn't exist. It's called Idiom, built from over 8,000 real books, stacked into a cylindrical column. But look inside. Mirrors create an illusion of an endless tunnel of books, disappearing into the depths. Not magic, art. An underground. Japan's bubble tea comes with turtles as a topping. Before you call the wildlife police, it's just herbal jelly, shaped like a turtle for maximum confusion. Sweet and wobbly. A Japanese company's all-terrain wheeled robot dog, climbing cliffs, racing across rough terrain, built to be your travel companion. This bridge connecting Matsue and Sakai Minato was famous for its dramatic drop, a remarkable feat of modern engineering and one of Japan's most popular photo spots. A foldable bathtub that hangs right inside your shower, no tub in your bathroom. Hang it up, fill it with water, take a full soak, drain it, roll it up, your shower is free again. This device sits outside elevators in Japan. Press your finger in, and it instantly wraps your fingertip in a paper-thin cover, so you can press buttons and touch screens without touching a single germ. Single-use, recyclable, compostable. Looks like an ordinary cabinet, It's actually a machine that restores dusty old books without damaging them. Air jets clear the pages. A HEPA filter pulls out the dirt. UVC light disinfects, and a deodorizing filter removes that musty smell. A cleaner book, no hand wiping required. In Japan, people place water bottles along fences and gardens. It's called nekayoka. The light refracting inside the water is believed to scare cats away, keeping them from using the area as a toilet. An impressive PlayStation ad, completely taking over a station in the Tokyo subway. Japan's secret weapon against brutal hills, a slope transport system, an inclined lift that carries residents up steep streets, powered by a card locals get through city registration. Japan is already living in the future. This chair looks like ordinary furniture, but its backrest hides a helmet that snaps into place during an earthquake, shielding your head and spine from falling debris in seconds. You'll find billboards like this, full 3D, jumping right off the building all over Japan. A human-sized fridge to fight the heat. This isn't for food, it's for people. Built for construction workers and outdoor staff surviving Japan's brutal summers. Metal candles that never melt. Fill the base with a special liquid. Insert the metal wicks. Light them. A real flame, but zero dripping wax to clean up. Melon ice cream designed to break into 4 pieces, so everyone gets their own share, instead of digging into the same one. Japan solved a problem you didn't know you had. This holds 8 shirts, loaded from the bottom so the collars never get wrecked. Click, done, 1 button, and all 8 drop at once. Genius or ridiculous? You decide. Some drinks in Japan are kept under waterfalls before they're sold. The flowing water keeps them perfectly chilled, cold, and ready the second you buy one. Honey in Japan comes in spoon-shaped packets. Peel back the cover, pour it straight into your drink with zero mess, and the packet itself doubles as the spoon to stir it in. This waterless shoe cleaner from Japan just went viral. Squeeze the foam onto a dry cloth, rub it in, wipe the sneaker, and watch the dirt disappear almost instantly. Eton, a spiral pump that reaches the very bottom of the bottle, pulling up the last drops of soap, lotion, or shampoo. Almost nothing goes to waste. This drink dispenser clips onto almost any bottle. Press the pump and it pours smoothly every time. A rechargeable battery with a USB-C plug built right into the tip. Once it dies, just plug. It in, exactly like charging your phone. Many people in Japan drop a small cast iron fish into the pot while cooking. As it simmers, it slowly releases iron into the meal, a simple way to boost your diet. A portable washboard, perfect for travel, great for hand washing socks and small items. Small, light, and easy to pack. This is how people snack outdoors in Japan. Which one was your favorite? Drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching.
Personalized hydration stations. Japan's summer heat and outdoor labor culture drove the development of dispensing stations in transit hubs and outdoor commercial areas, offering still water, sparkling water, and a hot weather electrolyte solution at no cost during months when the heat index exceeds a municipal threshold. In 2021, the stations added a function where tapping an NFC card or phone returns a dispensing recommendation based on a brief health profile. Whether you have conditions like hypertension or kidney issues that would affect the appropriate electrolyte concentration for you. The recommendation takes 4 seconds. An estimated 340,000 people use the network on peak summer days, and heat-related emergency calls in covered districts dropped by 22% in the first summer of full operation. America has water fountains that work intermittently and sports drink vending machines that charge $3.50. The gap between those two things is not a gap in available technology or available funding. It's a gap in whether free public hydration infrastructure is treated as something a city owes its residents or something residents are expected. Apartment air quality ratings as mandatory rental disclosure. When you rent an apartment in America, the law requires the landlord to tell you about lead paint in pre-1978 buildings. It requires nothing about the air quality of the unit, regardless of age, building materials, what the previous tenant was doing in there, or how well the ventilation system works, which is information that has measurable long-term effects on the respiratory health of the person who is about to spend several years sleeping and breathing in that space. Japan's mandatory air quality rating system in participating municipalities requires landlords to disclose a standardized score covering particulate matter levels, volatile organic compound concentrations, radon levels, and ventilation performance before the lease is signed. Poor rated units rent for measurably less and sit vacant longer, giving landlords a financial incentive to improve ventilation and address emission sources without requiring enforcement. The system was introduced after research connecting indoor air quality to respiratory health outcomes in dense urban housing made the issue difficult to ignore from a public health standpoint. America has the same research. It has not yet made the issue difficult to ignore from a legal standpoint. America is very good at naming problems. Studies get commissioned, reports get published, awareness gets raised. Japan, in a number of specific cases, skipped the awareness phase and went straight to building something.
Found 24 Japanese ideas so smart they should genuinely be illegal everywhere else. Watch until the end because number 24 is something so deceptively simple, it will permanently ruin how you see every other country's infrastructure. Let's get into it. Number 1. Transparent public toilets. Japan built public restrooms out of completely clear glass, not as a prank, not as a design flex, as standard public infrastructure. From the outside, you can see the entire interior, the toilet, the floor, every wall, whether it's occupied, whether it's clean. Then the second you lock the door from inside, the glass switches from fully transparent to completely opaque. Smart glass technology activated by electricity. Crystal clear to total privacy in under a second. Think about what this eliminates. You never hesitate outside a stall, wondering what you're walking into. You never open a door to a disaster. You always know exactly what's waiting before you commit. Japan removed the single worst part of using a public restroom, the uncertainty through architecture. The rest of the world is still using optimism and a deep breath. Number 2. Earthquake vending machines. Japan has millions of vending machines. Most countries use theirs to sell overpriced chips and lukewarm water. Japan turned theirs into emergency infrastructure. When seismic sensors detect an earthquake above a certain magnitude, specific vending machines across the country automatically unlock and dispense everything inside for free. Water, food, drinks, no payment, no card, no code required. Some models activate emergency lighting, display real-time evacuation routes, and offer charging ports for phones when the grid goes down. These machines stand on every block. When disaster strikes, hundreds of them flip into rescue mode simultaneously, turning an ordinary street into a distributed emergency supply network with zero setup time. Japan didn't just prepare for earthquakes. It turned its snack infrastructure into a first responder system. Number 3. Underground robotic bicycle parking. Japan solved bike parking the way Japan solves everything, by making it disappear entirely. You roll your bicycle to a small entrance at street level, swipe your card, and a mechanical arm grabs it and slides it underground into an automated storage tower holding hundreds of bikes. The whole intake process takes about 15 seconds. When you come back, you scan your card and your exact bike surfaces back up to you in under 20 seconds. No searching, no chains, no theft, no weather damage. The system takes up almost no surface space. Where traditional parking fits 10 bikes chained to a rack, these towers store hundreds beneath the footprint of a small elevator. Cities around the world watch this and feel personally attacked. Number 4. The 7-minute Shinkansen miracle. Japan's bullet trains run on schedules so precise that delays are measured in seconds. At the end of every journey, the moment passengers exit, a crew in red uniforms boards instantly. In exactly 7 minutes, sometimes less, they flip every single seat to face the correct direction, collect all trash, wipe down every surface, clean headrests, and sanitize toilets across a 16-car train. Passengers waiting to board watch through the windows as the crew moves in perfect choreographed formation, every person covering an assigned zone. When the doors open, the train is spotless. Every seat faces forward. It is ready. This process repeats hundreds of times a day across the entire Shinkansen network, without delay, without shortcuts, without exception. It's called the 7-minute miracle, and it earned that name. Number 5. Rent-a-family services. This one crosses from clever into something that genuinely rewires your brain. Japan has legitimate, licensed businesses where you can rent professional actors to play your family members, friends, or romantic partner. Need a convincing husband to attend a work event? Done. Want a stand-in father to walk you down the aisle because your real one isn't in your life? There's someone trained for exactly that. These aren't scams or sad novelties. They're professional services where actors study your requested relationship, memorize agreed backstories, and maintain character for hours. Some clients have kept the same rental family for years, celebrating holidays together, attending school events, building something that feels in practice real. Japan has a deep cultural awareness of loneliness. It even has vocabulary for it, and it built an entire industry around filling that gap. It's heartbreaking and ingenious at the same time, and it says something enormous about what modern life does to people. Number 6. QR code gravestones. Japan embedded QR codes directly into headstones in graveyards nationwide. Scan one with your phone and it opens a full digital memorial, photographs from childhood to old age, video messages recorded by family members, personal stories, a biographical timeline, and space for visitors to leave condolences from anywhere in the world. Family members who can't travel still connect. Future generations who never met the person can know them fully. The physical grave stays sacred. The QR code makes it a living archive that grows as new memories are contributed over time. Japan solved the fundamental limitation of stone, that it can only hold a name and 2 dates with a 2-centimeter square. The grave stays. The person expands beyond it. Number 7. Roads that play music. Certain stretches of Japanese highway have grooves carved into the pavement at mathematically precise intervals. Drive over them at the posted speed, and your tires produce actual music, recognizable melodies, clear enough for passengers to name the song. The grooves function like a music box. Different spacing produces different frequencies, and the combination creates notes. Drive too fast and the tune warps. Drive too slow and it drags. Hit the exact right speed and the road performs. Japan built a song into the asphalt specifically to reward safe driving. Not a camera, not a fine, not a flashing sign. A song. Engineers spent months calculating groove spacing to produce the correct notes at the correct tempo. That level of commitment to making safety enjoyable is either deeply admirable or makes every other country look profoundly unimaginative. If you're enjoying this so far, tap like. It tells YouTube you want more. And if you love discovering things that make everywhere else look behind, subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even more unhinged. Number 8. Robot hotels. Henna. Hotel in Japan operates with a staff that is almost entirely robotic. Check-in is handled by a humanoid robot at the front desk that processes your booking and scans your face as the room key. A wheeled robot porter carries luggage to your floor. Your room responds to voice commands, lights, temperature, blinds, all controlled through AI. A robotic arm in the lobby manages guest valuables. The robots aren't a demonstration or a gimmick. They're the actual operational workforce. Japan deployed this not as a technology showcase, but as a genuine attempt to cut labor costs while maintaining a functional hotel. It has run continuously since 2015. Not every system works perfectly, and they've quietly reintroduced some human staff over the years. But the fact that this hotel exists, operates, and takes real reservations makes it one of the most unsettling and impressive things Japan has ever built. Number 9. Directional ambulance sirens. Standard ambulance sirens blast sound in every direction, bouncing off buildings, carrying through walls, waking entire neighborhoods. Japanese ambulances in certain cities use frequency-based siren systems that project sound forward in a focused directional beam. Drivers ahead of the ambulance hear it clearly and move over. People inside buildings or on perpendicular streets barely register it. The vehicle moves through traffic with the same urgency. The noise doesn't. Japan decided that saving one person's life and disrupting everyone else's in a 1-mile radius weren't the only two options. It engineered a third option where the siren goes where the ambulance is going and leaves everything else alone. Number 10. Platform screen doors. Major Japanese train stations have floor-to-ceiling glass barriers sealed along every platform edge. They are physically impassable. The doors only open when a train arrives and only where train doors align with platform doors exactly. During Tokyo's rush hour, when hundreds of thousands of people move through a single station, nobody can fall, be pushed, or stumble onto the tracks. The barrier makes that outcome architecturally impossible. Japan made platform safety absolute through engineering, rather than relying on painted yellow lines and announcements asking people to please stay back. Most of the world still uses the yellow line method. Japan used walls. Number 11. Earthquake early warning nationwide. Japan built a sensor network that detects earthquakes at their origin point and broadcasts alerts to every phone, TV, and radio in affected regions before destructive shaking arrives. The physics that makes this possible: the initial seismic wave travels faster than the damaging shaking wave. There is a gap, seconds, sometimes up to 30. Japan captured that gap and turned it into a national warning system. When sensors fire, trains automatically brake. Surgeons pause. Factory machinery shuts down. The entire country's infrastructure enters a protective crouch simultaneously. It doesn't predict earthquakes. It catches the delay between when one starts and when it reaches you, and it fills every second of that delay with a warning. Japan turned physics into a survival mechanism. Number 12. Self-heating bento boxes. Japanese convenience stores sell boxed meals with chemical heating elements built directly into the packaging. Pull a single tab and a reaction between calcium oxide and water generates heat inside a sealed compartment beneath the food. Within 5 minutes, rice, curry, and noodles are steaming hot. The outside of the box stays completely cool to hold. No microwave, no outlet, no kitchen, no infrastructure of any kind required. You can eat a genuinely hot meal on a hiking trail, on a train platform, in a car in the middle of nowhere. The technology is safe, self-contained, and disposable. Japan made hot food available anywhere on Earth for the cost of pulling a tab. Most countries hand you a cold sandwich and call it travel food. Number 13. Washlet bidets on every toilet. Japan installed bidet spray functions into essentially every toilet in the country. Not luxury hotels, not premium apartments, every toilet, public restrooms, convenience store bathrooms, budget accommodations, standard residential units. The controls adjust water temperature, pressure, and spray position. Heated seats are common. Deodorizers are standard. Some models play ambient sound. The result is that toilet paper feels incomplete and primitive to every person who experiences this system for the first time. Japan made the highest available standard of bathroom hygiene completely ordinary. The technology has existed globally for decades. The rest of the world collectively decided against implementing it, which becomes harder to justify the more you think about it. Number 14. Snow-melting heated sidewalks. In Japan's snowiest regions, Niigata, parts of Hokkaido, Tohoku, heating coils are embedded beneath roads and sidewalks. Hot water circulates through pipes under the pavement, keeping surface temperature just above freezing. Snow falls and melts on contact. Streets stay clear through blizzards without shoveling, without salt, without a single plow running. Pedestrians walk on dry pavement during snowstorms. Drivers move on clear roads without chains. Fewer falls, fewer accidents, no road salt destroying surrounding vegetation. Japan looked at winter as an engineering problem and solved it at the infrastructure level. The upfront cost was massive. So was the decision to stop accepting winter as something you just endure. Number 15, Suica. One card for everything. Japan's rechargeable IC card works on trains, buses, vending machines, convenience stores, restaurants, coin lockers, and parking meters nationwide. One card. Tap and go in under a second every time. No separate transit passes for different cities. No cash for small purchases. No switching between payment methods. Your card registered in Tokyo works in Osaka, Kyoto, and Hiroshima without any setup or configuration. Tourists buy one at the airport and immediately access the entire country's payment ecosystem without confusion. Japan unified every routine daily transaction into a single tap. It's not dramatic technology. It doesn't look impressive. It's impressive the way uninterrupted electricity is impressive. You only truly appreciate it when you leave and have to go back to carrying 3 forms of payment for different things. Number 16. Onigiri packaging engineered for crunch. Japanese convenience store rice balls use a 3-layer packaging system specifically designed to keep nori seaweed completely separated from rice until the exact moment of eating. Pull tab 1, pull tab 2, pull tab 3, and the seaweed wraps itself around the rice ball during unwrapping, crispy and fresh, as if it was just assembled. This packaging exists because soggy seaweed is a texture problem, and Japan decided that a $1.50 snack deserves to be engineered correctly. The wrapper costs more to produce. The folding technique requires precision. Japan spent actual resources designing a packaging solution for the cheapest item on the convenience store shelf because doing it right mattered more than doing it cheaply. That attitude applied to something as small as a rice ball tells you everything. Number 17, capsule hotels. Japan compressed accommodation to its absolute spatial minimum and made it work beautifully. A capsule hotel pod is 2 meters long, 1 meter wide, 1 meter tall. Inside, a mattress, pillow, charging port, personal light, and a privacy curtain or hard door. Shared bathrooms and showers sit outside. The cost is a fraction of any standard hotel room in the same city. They're spotlessly clean, quiet, and designed for exactly one purpose: sleep. Business people use them after meetings run late. Budget travelers use them to afford expensive cities. People who miss the last train use them to avoid a 3 a.m. taxi bill. Japan stripped accommodation down to its essential purpose and delivered it affordably without removing dignity. The format shouldn't work. It works perfectly. Number 18. Cooling mist stations on city streets. Japan installed fine mist sprayer stations along busy pedestrian streets, outside train stations, and in public squares throughout major cities. The misters release ultrafine water droplets that evaporate almost instantly, dropping surrounding air temperature by several degrees through evaporative cooling without leaving anyone wet. You pass through one on a 38-degree humid afternoon and feel the difference within seconds. They cost relatively little to run and provide genuine relief to thousands of people every single day through peak summer. Number 19. Coin lockers, genuinely everywhere. Japan placed secure rental lockers in train stations, shopping districts, tourist areas, parks, and convenience stores across the entire country. Multiple sizes. Coin-operated or IC card. Constantly available. The cultural assumption baked into this infrastructure is that people move through cities with belongings they need to temporarily store, and Japan decided that was a universal need worth serving at scale. Tourists check out of hotels in the morning, drop luggage at the nearest station locker, spend a full day completely unburdened, and collect everything on the way to the airport. No fee, no coordination, no carrying a suitcase up temple stairs or into a narrow ramen shop. Number 20. Tactile paving, the complete system. Japan invented textured yellow tiles embedded in every sidewalk, train platform, and public space, raised dots and directional lines that visually impaired people read through their feet and canes. Dots signal caution, stairs, intersections, platform edges. Lines signal a clear path to follow. Bright yellow makes them visible to people with partial sight. The system is nationally standardized, so it works identically everywhere in the country once you learn it. Japan invented this in 1965 and then actually installed it everywhere as a baseline requirement for all new public infrastructure. Not a special accommodation, not an optional upgrade, a default. The world adopted the concept partially. Japan treated it as simply part of what a sidewalk is. Number 21. Seasonal menus, the full cultural commitment. Japan rotates menus with the seasons everywhere. Not just fine dining, but fast food chains, vending machines, convenience stores, and coffee chains. McDonald's Japan releases quarterly seasonal items. Starbucks drops region-specific seasonal drinks. Convenience store shelves change with the harvest. The food logic is simple. Use what's freshest and best right now, not what you can force year-round through cold storage and shipping. The psychological effect is equally powerful. Scarcity creates anticipation. People plan specific trips around seasonal releases. Number 22. Standing ramen bars. Japan runs noodle shops with no seats, no menus, no servers, and no waiting for a check. You order from a ticket machine at the entrance, hand the slip to the chef, stand at a narrow counter, eat in under 10 minutes, and leave. The entire operation is optimized around a single metric: hot noodles in front of a person as fast as possible. Prices stay low because overhead is minimal. Turnover is constant. Workers on a 30-minute lunch break get a proper hot meal without losing half their time waiting. There's no apology for the format and no pretense of leisure about it. Number 23. Manhole covers as public art. Japan decided that manhole covers, the most ignored piece of urban infrastructure in existence, should be worth looking at. Cities commission custom designs featuring local landmarks, seasonal imagery, regional mascots, and cultural symbols cast directly into the iron. Tokyo has cherry blossoms. Kyoto has traditional geometric patterns. Hokkaido features native wildlife. Some covers are cast in full color. Some commemorate local festivals or famous residents. An entire subculture emerged around photographing and collecting rare designs. Number 24. Ice cream engineered not to melt. Japanese food scientists discovered that polyphenol extract from strawberries causes fat and water molecules in ice cream to bind more tightly together, dramatically slowing the melting process. The result is an ice cream bar that holds its shape in warm weather far longer than physics suggests it has any right to. Videos show it surviving minutes under a hairdryer. It still tastes creamy. It still melts in your mouth when you eat it. It simply refuses to fall apart the moment summer exists outside. Japan looked at the experience of eating ice cream outdoors, that you are always in a race against ambient temperature, and removed the race entirely. It's a small thing. It eliminates nothing catastrophic. It makes a moment of simple pleasure work exactly the way it's supposed to, every single time. Which, if you look back at every entry on this list, is really all Japan is ever doing. If you want to see more incredible things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, hit like and subscribe, and check the video on your end screen. It's packed with even more ideas that will make you seriously question your own country's infrastructure decisions.
Japan doesn't just make things. Japan makes things that make the rest of the world feel like it's been living in the wrong century. We're not referring to high-speed trains and calculators. We're speaking of inventions whose very existence causes your mind to refuse to believe that what you're seeing actually exists. Products that will make you feel like there must be some mistake by the props department at a science fiction movie set. These are 24 Japanese inventions so innovative they should be made illegal. Stick around until the end, because once we reach number 1, you'll need a moment to take it all in. Number 24. The rice cooker that does more than cook rice. We're gonna make it easy for you. This might appear to be very simple. It's not. The contemporary Japanese fuzzy logic rice cooker, created by companies such as Zojirushi and Panasonic since the 1980s, is much more than a water heater. This is an example of early AI incorporated into the domestic appliance. The fuzzy logic system constantly evaluates moisture level, temperature changes, and the type of rice being cooked, and modifies the cooking time, temperature, and steam pressure correspondingly during cooking. There are versions with adjustable pressure levels, several rice programs, and even slow cook options rivaling commercial kitchen equipment. Number 23. The toilet that is smarter than your phone. The Toto washlet, introduced in 1980, did not just add a bidet function to a toilet. It invented a category of object that the rest of the world still hasn't fully adopted, despite having had over 4 decades to do so. What the modern washlet does? It preheats the seat to body temperature before you sit. It automatically opens and closes the lid based on motion detection. It has a rear cleansing wand with adjustable water pressure, angle, and temperature. It has a warm air dryer. It deodorizes automatically. It plays ambient sound to mask any audio. Some models analyze your waste in real time as a health monitoring function and can send data to a connected device. Number 22. Instant ramen. The invention that quietly fed the world. Momofuku Ando invented instant noodles in 1958 after watching people queue for hours in post-war Japan just to eat a bowl of ramen. His logic was simple. If he could recreate that in a sealed package that anyone could prepare anywhere with just hot water, hunger lines didn't have to exist. In 1971, he went further. The cup noodle. A waterproof foam cup containing noodles, flavoring, and dried protein, requiring only the addition of boiling water and 3 minutes of patience. Over 100 billion servings are consumed globally every single year. In a 2000 poll, the Japanese public voted instant ramen the most important Japanese invention of the 20th century, above bullet trains, above the Walkman, above everything. Number 21. The emoji. A language built in a 12-pixel grid, Shigetaka Kurita created the first 176 emojis in 1999 while working at NTT Docomo, Japan's mobile internet pioneer. He was working within a brutally limited technical constraint. Each image had to fit in a 12 by 12 pixel grid, and he needed to create a visual vocabulary that could convey emotion, weather, places, and activity without words. The original 176 are in the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Number 20. The QR code. Invented to track car parts, took over the world. In 1994, an engineer named Masahiro Hara at Denso Wave, a Toyota subsidiary, was frustrated with barcodes. Standard barcodes stored around 20 characters. Car manufacturing required tracking thousands of components simultaneously, each with complex data attached, and barcodes simply couldn't hold enough information. Hara's solution was two-dimensional. By distributing data both horizontally and vertically in a square matrix with error correction built in so the code remained readable even if partially damaged, he could store roughly 350 times more information than a traditional barcode. 30 years later, QR codes are on restaurant menus, currency, boarding passes, vaccines, construction sites, museum exhibits, product packaging, and gravestones. Billions are scanned daily. An engineer trying to sort out car parts, and he built the connective tissue of the physical to digital world. Number 19. The Walkman. The invention that created private listening. Before 1979, music was communal. You listened in a room, at a concert, or on a radio. The idea of wrapping music around yourself personally, privately, as you moved through the world. That wasn't a thing. Then Masaru Ibuka, co-founder of Sony, wanted a device to listen to classical music during his long international flights. Sony engineer Nobutoshi Kihara built him one. Akio Morita saw it and said they should sell it. The Walkman TPSL-2 launched on July 1st, 1979. It had no recording function, just playback. People said it wouldn't sell. Why would someone want a tape player with no recording? The Walkman didn't just sell a product, it changed how humans relate to sound in public space. The person who walks down a street with headphones in, that's a behavior the Walkman invented from scratch. Number 18. Tactile paving, the invention that made cities navigable for the blind. Seiichi Miyake invented tactile paving blocks in 1965 and, at his own expense, had them installed near a school for the blind in Okayama City in 1967. The blocks have a specific raised dot pattern that indicates danger or a decision point, and a linear ridge pattern that indicates a safe direction of travel, all readable through the sole of a shoe or the tip of a cane. He gave the invention away freely. Japan adopted it nationally. Then the rest of the world began copying it. Today, tactile paving is in nearly every country on Earth. Every train station, airport, sidewalk with a traffic hazard, pedestrian crossing. Number 17. The Blue LED, the invention that made modern lighting possible. For decades, LED technology was stuck. Red LEDs existed from the 1960s. Green LEDs followed. But without blue, there was no white light. And without white light, LEDs were novelties rather than a viable replacement for conventional lighting. The physics of producing blue light from semiconductors was considered so difficult that for most of the 20th century, the scientific consensus was that efficient blue LEDs were essentially impossible to create commercially. Shuji Nakamura, working at Nichia Corporation, a relatively small Japanese chemical company, disagreed. He solved the problem in 1993 using gallium nitride. The result, practical white LED lighting became achievable. Efficient, long-lasting, low-energy illumination at every scale from a phone screen to an industrial stadium. Nakamura, along with Isamu Akasaki and Hiroshi Amano, was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2014. The award citation described their work as bringing light to billions. That is not hyperbole. Number 16. IPS cells. Reprogramming the biological clock. In 2006, Shinya Yamanaka at Kyoto University announced something that immediately caused the entire field of biology to stop and reread the paper. He had taken ordinary adult skin cells, fully developed, fully specialized, no longer capable of becoming anything other than what they were, and reversed them. By introducing 4 specific genes, he had reprogrammed them back into a pluripotent state, a state where they could become any type of cell in the human body. These are called induced pluripotent stem cells, or IPS cells. Yamanaka received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2012. His IPS Cell Research Institute at Kyoto University now employs hundreds of researchers and is generating clinical treatments that didn't exist as concepts 20 years ago. Number 15. The Shinkansen, the train that embarrassed an entire planet. When the Shinkansen launched on October 1st, 1964, deliberately timed to coincide with the opening of the Tokyo Olympics, it reduced the journey between Tokyo and Osaka from over 6 hours to 4. It was the world's first high-speed rail service, traveling at speeds no passenger train had ever commercially achieved. It hasn't had a single fatality due to a derailment or collision in over 60 years of operation. The average delay across all Shinkansen lines is measured in single-digit seconds per year, not minutes, seconds, and almost universally found lacking. When countries build high-speed rail, they send delegations to Japan to study it. When other systems fail or run late, their passengers ask why it can't be more like Japan. The Shinkansen didn't just build a fast train, it built the standard. Number 14. The Maglev train. They broke the land speed record for a train. In April 2015, a Japanese S-Maglev train operated by JR Central reached 603 kilometers per hour on a test track in Yamanashi Prefecture. That is the fastest any rail vehicle has ever traveled anywhere on Earth, and the record still stands. The technology uses superconducting magnets to levitate the train completely above the track. No contact, no friction, no mechanical limitation on speed beyond what the infrastructure and physics allow. At cruising speed, the train floats approximately 10 centimeters above the guideway. The Chuo Shinkansen line using this technology is currently under construction to connect Tokyo and Nagoya. The planned journey time, 40 minutes. Currently by Shinkansen, that takes roughly 90 minutes. Tokyo to Nagoya, the distance between two of Japan's largest cities, in 40 minutes. Number 13. Asimo, the humanoid robot that walked before anyone else did. Honda's Asaimo, advanced step in innovative mobility, was introduced in 2000 as the culmination of 14 years of Honda research into bipedal locomotion. It was the first humanoid robot capable of walking in a stable, continuous manner that genuinely resembled how a human being moves. Asimo could walk, run, climb stairs, carry objects, pour a drink, and recognize faces and voices. By 2005, it could run at 9 kilometers per hour. In subsequent iterations, it could hop on one foot, kick a ball, and adapt its gait in real time to changing terrain. What Asimo represented wasn't just engineering achievement, it was proof of concept for an entire category of machine, the bipedal service robot, that entire industries now take as given. Every humanoid robot under development today exists in a lineage that runs through Asimo. Honda discontinued Asimo in 2022, describing it as having served its purpose, to advance the foundational research now embedded in other programs. It walked so the rest of the field could run. Number 12, the HAL exoskeleton, the suit that reads your nervous system. Cyberdyne, the actual Japanese robotics company, not the fictional one, developed the Hybrid Assistive Limb, or HAL, at the University of Tsukuba. It became the world's first powered exoskeleton to receive global safety certification and the first to be certified as a medical treatment device in Europe. For patients with spinal cord injuries, neurological disorders, or stroke damage, this means HAL can create a feedback loop between the brain and the limbs that the injury had broken. Repeated use has been shown to reinforce neural pathways and restore function that patients were told was permanently lost. It also can increase the physical strength of a healthy user by a factor of 10. The same device that helps a stroke patient walk is the foundation of a powered exoskeleton that lets a construction worker carry loads no human body was designed to manage. Number 11. The drone umbrella. They solved rain with a helicopter. Asahi Power Services developed a product in the late 2000s that uses a drone to follow a person through the rain, hovering overhead and acting as an autonomous umbrella. The system uses AI to track the user's position and maintain a consistent overhead distance. This exists. It is not a prototype in the conceptual stage. It is a product with a working demonstration. The drone stays positioned directly above its user, adjusting for speed and direction changes without being told, shields them from precipitation, and does all of this without requiring the user to hold, carry, or think about an umbrella at all. Someone in Japan looked at the problem of rain and concluded the correct solution was a flying robot. Number 10. Projection mapping. Makeup. Shiseido and other Japanese beauty technology companies have developed real-time facial projection mapping systems that apply virtual makeup directly to a moving human face. Not on a screen overlay, not filtered through a camera app, but physically projected onto skin, tracking the face in 3 dimensions as it moves. The technology uses high-speed cameras and projection systems that update faster than the human eye can detect. Turn your head, blink, speak. The projected makeup tracks every movement and maintains precise registration on the facial surface. The system allows someone to try hundreds of different makeup configurations, foundation shades, lip colors, eye looks, full face transformations, in real time, in a physical store, without touching their actual face once. The decision gets made based on what they actually look like wearing it, not what a filter approximates. This was demonstrated commercially at CES 2025 and received an Innovation Award. The cosmetics industry globally is currently processing what this means for their retail model. Number 9. Panasonic's deodorizing hanger. Nanoscale particles for your suit. This one sounds almost mundane until you understand the engineering underneath it. Panasonic's deodorizing clothes hanger uses what the company calls Nano-EX technology, nano-sized atomized water particles, each one 1/1000th of a meter in scale, generated from humidity in the surrounding air. These particles penetrate fabric at the molecular level and break down odor-causing compounds on contact. The hangar doesn't mask smell. It doesn't use chemicals or fragrance. It uses physics to dismantle odor molecules in clothing that can't easily be washed, suits, cashmere, leather, and does it quietly on a clothes rack over a 5 to 7 hour cycle. The same underlying NanoEX technology appears in Panasonic air purifiers, hair dryers, and HVAC systems across Japan. They built a deodorizing hanger as a consumer product because the technology was small enough and the application was obvious. That's the casual frequency with which Japan applies nanotechnology to everyday objects. Number 8. The Capsule Hotel. They solved sleep like an engineering problem. Architect Kisho Kurokawa designed the first capsule hotel in Osaka in 1979, drawing on the modular, interchangeable unit philosophy of his metabolism architectural movement. The concept: each sleeping unit would be exactly what was needed for sleep, nothing more, nothing less, manufactured to precision and stacked like components in a machine. The original capsule in Osaka provided each guest with a molded fiberglass pod containing a mattress, lighting controls, ventilation, a small television, and an alarm. The dimensions were calibrated for function, not comfort in the traditional sense. This was comfort engineered rather than comfort approximated. What the capsule hotel solved was a specific problem unique to Japan's urban density: the business traveler or commuter who missed the last train and needed safe, clean, affordable sleep within walking distance of a major station. It solved it completely. Number 7. The underground flood tunnel. Tokyo built a cathedral below the city. The metropolitan area, outer underground discharge channel, known locally as the Gaikaku Husuiro, is the world's largest underground floodwater management facility, and photographs of its interior look like concept art for a dystopian film. Located in Kasukabe, north of Tokyo, it consists of 5 concrete silos 65 meters deep, each wide enough to contain the Statue of Liberty standing upright, connected by nearly 7 kilometers of tunnel 6 meters in diameter. When rivers in the greater Tokyo area rise dangerously during typhoon season or heavy rainfall, floodwater is diverted into the silos, travels through the tunnels, collects in the cistern, and is pumped out into the Edogawa River at a rate of 200 tons per second. The facility is open for public tours. People walk the cistern's pillared hall in small groups, beneath a ceiling that is the floor of a suburb, next to the machinery that quietly keeps millions of people from watching their homes fill with water. Number 6. The Luge Earthquake-Resistant Building. Tech floating on shock absorbers. Japan sits on 4 tectonic plates simultaneously. The country experiences approximately 1,500 earthquakes per year that humans can feel, and many more they cannot. This has produced the most sophisticated seismic engineering culture on Earth. The most advanced contemporary system is seismic isolation, the physical separation of a building's structure from the ground beneath it. Large rubber bearings and lead dampers are installed at the building's base, decoupling the structure from the Earth's motion. When the ground shakes, the building does not move with it. The isolation system absorbs and dissipates the energy. Buildings using this technology in major earthquakes have moved less than 10 centimeters, while surrounding buildings moved by meters. Hospitals have remained operational during events that leveled structures built to conventional standards. Schools have continued running. A Japanese startup has recently developed a sprayable earthquake-resistant coating that reinforces existing structures without full retrofitting, allowing older buildings to benefit from seismic protection without demolition. Japan keeps solving this problem from new angles because it cannot afford to stop solving it. Number 5. The asteroid sample. Return: Japan went to space and brought something back. In 2010, the JAXA spacecraft Hayabusa became the first mission in history to land on an asteroid, collect surface material, and return it to Earth. The asteroid was Itokawa. The spacecraft had already survived a fuel leak, a communications blackout, and a failed first collection attempt. On the second attempt, it fired a small bullet into the asteroid surface, collected the ejecta, sealed it, and then traveled 4 billion kilometers back to Earth. The return capsule landed in the Australian outback in June 2010. It contained approximately 1,500 particles of asteroid material, the first extraterrestrial solid samples collected from a known body beyond the Moon. In 2020, Hayabusa 2 improved on every element of that mission. It landed on a different asteroid, Ryugu. It detonated a small explosive to create a crater and collect subsurface material untouched by solar radiation, pristine matter from the early solar system. It returned over 5 grams of material, a yield far exceeding expectations, and landed its return capsule in Australia with extraordinary precision. Those samples are currently being analyzed by researchers worldwide. They contain organic molecules and water-bearing minerals from the formation of the solar system 4.5 billion years ago. Japan went out and got pieces of how everything began. Number 4. The bulletproof fiber thinner than a human hair. Xylon Toyobo Company, a Japanese textile company, developed Xylon, formerly polyphenylene 2,6-benzobisoxazole, or PBO fiber, which has a tensile strength roughly 1.6 times greater than Kevlar and a stiffness comparison that puts it among the strongest human-made fibers on Earth. A single thread of Xylon, thinner than a human hair, can bear a load that would seem impossible given its diameter. The material is used in body armor, aerospace components, motorsport safety equipment, the tethers of deep-sea research equipment, and the cords of suspension bridges. Japan developed a near-indestructible fiber, and its applications run from bulletproof vests to concert hall acoustics. The same material protecting people from bullets is woven into the frames of sport equipment for people who are not being shot at. Number 3. Holographic displays. The University of Tokyo made free space holograms. Researchers at the University of Tokyo have developed holographic display technology that produces full-color, 3-dimensional images viewable without glasses or headsets, floating in open air with genuine parallax, meaning the image looks different from different viewing angles the way a real object would. The technology uses optimized diffraction calculations applied to ordinary display hardware, including methods adaptable to smartphones to create computer-generated holograms that produce the perception of depth and volume without any intermediary device between the image and the viewer's eyes. In 2024, the team published work on full-color methods that made consumer-grade holographic rendering significantly more accessible. The timeline to a holographic display you could own and use in an ordinary room shortened noticeably with that paper. The dream most people have of a device projecting images into empty space that look physically present is not science fiction in Japan. It is a research paper with a university affiliation and a publication date. Number 2. Rapidus. Building the chip that doesn't exist yet. Rapidus is a Japanese semiconductor company backed by the government and major corporations, including Toyota, Sony, and NTT, with one specific mandate: manufacture 2-nanometer microchips, the most advanced semiconductor node currently in development anywhere on Earth, domestically in Japan. 2-nanometer chips don't exist in commercial production anywhere yet. TSMC in Taiwan is working on it, Samsung in South Korea is working on it, and now Rapidus in Hokkaido is working on it at a brand new fabrication facility that began testing operations in April 2025. The chips are intended for AI computing, autonomous vehicles, and next-generation communications. The node is so small that the transistors on the chip are measured in atoms. Manufacturing them requires tolerances that push against the physical limits of what matter allows. Japan lost its semiconductor dominance in the 1990s. Rapidus is the explicit, government-backed attempt to reclaim a position at the frontier of the technology that everything else runs on. They are not trying to catch up. They are trying to build what doesn't exist yet, alongside everyone else, trying to do the same thing. Number 1. The optical fiber internet speed record. Japan sent data at 402 terabits per second. In 2024, researchers at Japan's National Institute of Information and Communications Technology set a new world record for data transmission over optical fiber: 402 terabits per second over a distance of 50 kilometers. The record was achieved using standard diameter fiber optic cable, the kind already embedded in existing telecommunications infrastructure, by transmitting data across a vastly expanded spectrum of light wavelengths using multiple spatial modes within the same fiber simultaneously, with signal processing that extracted usable data from all of them in parallel. The practical implication isn't just speed. It means the physical cables already in the ground could potentially carry exponentially more data than they currently carry, without replacement. The internet's capacity isn't limited by the glass. It's limited by what you can do with the light passing through it. Japan looked at that light and found more of it. Japan doesn't invent things because they're impressive. They invent things because the problem exists, and the standard they hold themselves to means not solving it isn't an option. If this one sent your jaw somewhere below the desk, hit subscribe. We've got more lists from the country that is quietly living 15 years ahead of the rest of us. We'll see you in the next one. There's a pattern that starts to emerge when you spend enough time around Japanese systems. The thing you assumed was a small detail turns out to be load-bearing. The thing you assumed was an accident turns out to be 100 years of refinement. The country has a way of solving problems so completely that the solution becomes invisible, and you only notice it when you go somewhere else and have to live without it. Here are 24 of those ideas, and I'd bet you'll want to copy at least a handful by the end of this video. Number 24. The glass that fills from underneath. At certain Japanese bars, you place an empty glass onto a small platform, and beer rises up through a valve in the base. Foam forms naturally at the top. The valve seals itself the moment you lift the glass. The physics are simply better. Pouring beer from above slams carbonation out of the liquid, ruining the texture and producing wasted foam. Filling from below preserves everything. The beer didn't change. The direction it travels changed. Japan applied engineering to a process most countries had been doing wrong for centuries, fixed it quietly, and moved on. Number 23. The parking tower that retrieves your car in 13 seconds. In dense Tokyo neighborhoods, automated parking towers store cars vertically across 15 or more floors. You drive onto a ground-level platform, step out, walk away. A carousel takes the car, finds an empty bay, parks it without a human touching it. To retrieve, you insert your ticket. The tower locates your specific car, rotates the carousel, delivers it to ground level facing the exit direction in under 2 minutes. The same footprint that parks one car at surface level parks 40 in a tower. Japan ran out of horizontal space, looked up, and built a machine that found the missing dimension. Number 22. The sliding wall. Traditional Japanese homes use sliding panels called fusuma made of wood and paper. They divide rooms without consuming clearance space the way hinged doors do. They can be removed entirely, merging 2 rooms in seconds. The home shifts size based on what the day needs. This principle predates every open-plan office concept by roughly 1,000 years. The idea is simple. A wall should exist only when needed. When it isn't needed, it should disappear. Japan normalized this so completely that the rest of the world keeps rediscovering it and selling it back as innovation. Number 21. The luggage that arrives before you. Japan's nationwide luggage forwarding service lets you drop off a suitcase at a hotel, airport, or convenience store and have it delivered to your next destination, often by the next morning. You travel with empty hands. Your bags travel separately. The network is so reliable that travelers route through stations and crowded streets without ever carrying anything heavy. Instead of designing better luggage, Japan eliminated the need to carry it. The responsibility shifted from the individual to the system, and the system handled it more efficiently than any individual ever could. Number 20. The Head Spa Shampoo Chair. Most salons in the world require you to crane your neck backward over a basin to get your hair washed. The discomfort is universal and quietly accepted. Japanese salons redesigned this with a contoured head support that holds the neck in a fully relaxed position throughout the wash. Clients recline completely. No strain, no pressure on the spine. What used to be tolerable becomes genuinely calming. The shampoo doesn't change, the chemistry doesn't change. The chair changes, and the entire experience transforms. Japan identified an unnecessary discomfort and engineered it out without anyone outside the country quite catching on. Number 19. The vein-finding needle. Drawing blood from patients with hard-to-find veins is one of the most frustrating routine procedures in medicine. Japan addressed it with near-infrared imaging devices that project a real-time map of veins directly onto the patient's skin. Hemoglobin absorbs infrared differently from surrounding tissue, so the veins glow visibly under the light. The clinician sees exactly where to insert the needle. First attempt success rates climb dramatically. Patient anxiety drops. Japan treated the problem not as a skill limitation, but as a visibility problem, and reframing it that way produced a solution that no amount of training could have matched. Number 18. The ear cleaning profession. In Japan, there are businesses whose entire service is professional ear cleaning. You arrive, recline, rest your head in the practitioner's lap, and receive a 20 to 40-minute session using bamboo scoops, cotton spirals, and fine brushes while getting a scalp massage at the same time. It isn't medical, it's grooming as wellness, descended from centuries of intimate family care. Clients return regularly and describe the experience as deeply calming in ways that resist explanation until you've tried it. Japan formalized something the rest of the world considered too awkward to commercialize, removed the awkwardness, and built an industry. Number 17. The weighing scale in the floor. Japanese airports and hotel lobbies install scales flush with the floor in pre-check-in areas. You roll your suitcase onto it without lifting. The weight displays. If your bag is overweight, you discover it now with privacy and time to repack, rather than at the counter with a queue behind you and a fee about to be assessed. The information didn't change. The location and timing of the information changed. Japan understands that when and where you receive information matters as much as the information itself, and engineers both deliberately. The scale is small. The principle behind it touches every friction point in any organized system. Number 16. The Manga Cafe. In urban Japan, manga kissa are private pod facilities where for an hourly fee, you access a small enclosed booth with a reclining chair, computer, internet, and access to thousands of manga volumes. Shower facilities, drinks, light food, and blankets are included. People use them as overflow workspaces, transit accommodations, or short-term housing during difficult periods. Japan created a commercial product that incidentally functions as social infrastructure, providing dignified short-term private space to anyone who needs it on a pay-per-hour basis in every major city. It's a business doing the work of a much larger system. Number 15. The Regional Chocolate Bar. Japan produces over 300 regional Kit Kat varieties, many available only in specific prefectures. Wasabi in Shizuoka, Hokkaido melon, matcha in Kyoto, purple sweet potato in Okinawa. Each variety becomes a small edible postcard of where you are. What started as marketing became something stranger. Travelers route through specific regions hunting flavors unavailable anywhere else. The chocolate bar became a tourism driver, a regional identity marker, and a cultural artifact. Japan took a globally uniform product and made it express local specificity so precisely that the bar itself became a reason to visit a place. Number 14. The Programmable Calendar. Stamp. Japanese stationery culture produced a system of interlocking self-inking stamps that lets you build a custom calendar layout on blank paper. Individual date components, day blocks, month headers, time grids. You stamp the structure your specific week or project needs, then plan within it. Pre-printed planners impose someone else's idea of what a week should look like. The stamp set lets you construct planning architecture from scratch at whatever scale the moment requires. Most productivity tools give you a structure and tell you to adapt. Japan made a tool that adapts to you by handing you the parts and letting you assemble them. Number 13. The tiny apartment that makes big ones feel sloppy. Tokyo's housing density has produced apartments of 15 to 25 square meters, where every decision is load-bearing. Every wall has a function. Every surface holds storage. Beds fold into walls. Fixtures are sized precisely to the space they occupy, rather than borrowed from standard dimensions that assume more room. People encountering these apartments for the first time consistently report the same surprise. The small apartment feels more functional than apartments twice its size, because the larger apartment is full of loosely purposed dead space the small one couldn't afford to include. Constraint produced precision. The design intelligence that emerges from extreme space limitation is transferable to any floor area. Multifunction furniture, vertical storage, modular organization. Japan generates these solutions out of necessity, and the rest of the world borrows them because they work even when the necessity has been removed. The country was forced into the best version of residential design by a real estate market that left no alternative, and the rest of us inherit the benefit. Number 12. The fridge that has feelings. Energy efficiency campaigns mostly don't work. Posters get ignored. Apps get uninstalled. Dashboards get glanced at and forgotten. The information is correct. The motivation to act on it is weak. Japan tried a different approach, a small plastic animal that lives on the refrigerator shelf. It greets you cheerfully when you open the door. If you leave the door open for more than 30 seconds, the cheerfulness ends. The animal becomes distressed, audibly distressed, growing louder and more anguished with every additional second until you close the door and it returns to contentment. Households using these devices cut their refrigerator door open time by an average of 40%, not because anyone consciously tracked their behavior, but because nobody could emotionally withstand a small plastic penguin having a breakdown while they decided whether to eat the leftovers. Japan bypassed the rational mind entirely and went straight for guilt. The mechanism was absurd. The mechanism also worked. Most energy-saving solutions assume people will change behavior in response to good information. Japan assumed people would change behavior in response to a sad plastic toy, and turned out to be correct. Number 11. The infinite bubble wrap. Keychain. Bubble wrap is one of the most effective stress relief objects ever accidentally invented. The problem is that it ends. You get one pass through the sheet, and what you have afterward is a sad piece of plastic with all the joy already extracted. Japan built a silicone keychain pad with 100 small domes that replicate the resistance, feedback, and pop of real bubble wrap, then reset immediately, infinitely. Every 8th press triggers a random secondary sound, a dog bark, a small melody, something unexpected. The randomness is the actual mechanism. It introduces unpredictability into a repetitive action, which is what prevents anxiety management behaviors from going numb. Occupational therapists adopted these. Offices keep them in drawers. Japan aimed at the smallest possible therapeutic target, solving the tragedy of finished bubble wrap, and produced something that quietly does more than its inventors planned for. Number 10. The car seat that knows before you do. Drowsy driving is one of the most dangerous conditions on any road, and one of the hardest to self-detect. The brain sliding towards sleep is not reliable at monitoring its own descent. People who fall asleep at the wheel report not feeling tired in the moments before it happened. Toyota built a micro-sleep detection system entirely into the driver's seat. Pressure sensors track micro-shifts in posture, subtle changes in breathing rhythm, and the specific muscular relaxation that precedes sleep. The seat detects the drowsiness before the driver feels it. The response is graduated. First, a gentle seat vibration. If readings deepen, maximum cold ventilation kicks in, along with a rhythmic seatbelt pulse calibrated to interrupt without startling. Not a jolt, just enough disturbance to break the descent before it becomes a lane drift. The genius of putting the safety system in the seat is that the seat is where the body is. The body tells the truth before the mind admits it. The car listens to the body, not the driver, because the body knows first. Number 9. The community that shares elders. A practice in some Japanese neighborhoods called Toshiori Mawari, elder rotation, distributes responsibility for checking on elderly residents across the entire community on a fixed schedule. Each elderly resident has a list of 7 neighbors. Each day of the week, a different neighbor visits briefly. The elder is never alone for more than 24 hours. The visits are short, casual, and built into the visitor's existing routines. What this prevents is the invisible deterioration that haunts elderly populations in modern cities. The fall that goes unnoticed for 2 days. The mental decline that nobody catches until it's advanced. The depression that accumulates in unbroken solitude. Each visit is small. The cumulative effect is enormous. Communities practicing Toshiori Mawari report dramatically lower rates of elderly hospitalization, undetected illness, and isolation-related decline. The visitors don't have to do anything substantial. They just have to show up. The showing up is the medicine. Most modern cultures have placed the burden of elder care on individual families, often a single, overstretched adult child. Japan distributed it across the village, which is closer to how human caretaking has worked for most of history, and the village version functions much better than the family alone version. Number 8. The school that teaches cleaning. Japanese schools don't employ custodial staff. The students clean the building themselves. Every day at the end of class, every child in every grade picks up a broom, a cloth, or a bucket and spends 15 minutes cleaning the school. The classrooms, the hallways, the bathrooms, the grounds. What this teaches goes far beyond cleanliness. The children grow up understanding that the spaces they use are their own responsibility. Litter doesn't appear because the people who would drop it know they'll be the ones picking it up. Respect for shared property becomes instinctive rather than enforced. Studies on graduates of Japanese schools show measurably higher levels of civic responsibility, lower rates of public vandalism, and stronger reported sense of community ownership across their adult lives. The 15 minutes of daily cleaning, repeated across 12 years of education, builds something no civics class could have produced. The cost to the school system is zero. The benefit to society compounds across generations. Most other countries spend significant money on custodial staff and graduate adults who treat public spaces as someone else's problem. Japan invested no money and produced citizens who treat every space they enter as partly their own to care for. Number 7. The neighborhood without a trash day. Some Japanese residential neighborhoods operate a system called Gomi Suteba, distributed waste sites, where residents bring trash directly to small collection points within walking distance of every home, on specific days of the week, sorted into multiple precise categories before deposit. What this replaces is the curbside collection that defines most of the rest of the world. No big trucks rumbling down quiet streets. No piles of bags accumulating in front of houses overnight. No raccoons or crows tearing through plastic. The trash arrives at the collection point already sorted, contained, and ready for efficient pickup. The system works because residents agreed to it collectively decades ago and never broke the agreement. Recycling rates in these neighborhoods exceed 80%, compared to the 30% rates typical in cities that use centralized curbside collection. The sorting precision produces dramatically cleaner recyclable streams. Less material ends up in landfills. What's striking is that the system requires more effort from individual residents and produces less work overall for the community. Each household carries trash a few hundred meters and sorts it properly. The cumulative effect across the neighborhood is a waste system that costs less, works better, and produces a cleaner environment for everyone. Number 6. The Genkan. As psychological threshold. The Genkan, the recessed entryway in a Japanese home where shoes come off before stepping up into the house, is doing more psychological work than most people realize. Researchers studying transitional spaces have found that the act of removing shoes, stepping up, and changing into slippers takes roughly 12 seconds, and those 12 seconds function as a measurable nervous system reset. The body interprets the Genkin ritual as the end of one mode and the beginning of another. Heart rate drops. Cortisol begins decreasing. The brain registers safety, home, completion of journey. The architecture itself triggers a physiological response that takes minutes to achieve through deliberate relaxation techniques. Modern American homes have eliminated the threshold. You walk from the driveway directly into the living room with everything from the outside world still on your feet and in your nervous system. The transition that the Genkin would have created simply doesn't happen, and the body never quite registers that it has come home. Studies on residents of homes with Genkin versus residents of homes without show measurable differences in evening stress levels, sleep quality, and reported sense of household sanctuary. The architectural detail is small. The cumulative psychological effect across a lifetime is enormous. Japan kept the threshold. The threshold kept doing its work quietly for generations. Number 5, the citywide quiet hour. In some Japanese neighborhoods, an unofficial agreement has emerged over decades called Shizukana Jikan, the quiet hour. Between approximately 7 and 8 in the evening, residents collectively keep their homes acoustically calm. No loud television, no vacuuming, no noisy appliances. Conversations stay at normal indoor volume. The whole neighborhood softens its acoustic footprint at the same time. The agreement is informal. No law requires it. No signs announce it. New residents learn it by observing, sometimes after a polite visit from a neighbor explaining the custom. The hour exists because everyone collectively decided that the early evening, when children are doing homework and families are eating dinner and elderly residents are winding down, deserves protection from ambient noise. What this produces is a neighborhood that experiences a daily moment of shared peace. Streets are quieter. Apartments transmit less sound. Stress levels measurably drop across the community during that hour. The peace is collective. Nobody created it alone. Nobody could have. Modern urban life mostly accepts that noise pollution is unavoidable. The Japanese hour suggests an alternative. Communities can agree to be quiet together, and the agreement holds, and the quiet becomes something the whole neighborhood owns and protects. The infrastructure cost is zero. The cultural cost is one shared decision, sustained over time. Number 4. The bath as community. In many Japanese cities, sento, traditional public bathhouses, still operate as neighborhood gathering places. For roughly the price of a coffee, anyone can enter, undress, wash thoroughly, and soak in a large communal pool of hot water alongside neighbors. The bath is for cleaning. The soaking is for everything else. What happens in a sento isn't private. People recognize each other. Children swim with grandparents. Old men sit in the same corner for 40 years and watch the seasons of the neighborhood pass through the bath. The water is shared. The space is shared. The vulnerability is shared because nobody is wearing anything that signals status. Research on regular sento users shows lower rates of social isolation, stronger neighborhood connections, and better long-term mental health outcomes than demographically matched residents who don't visit. The bath is doing something the rest of the neighborhood's social infrastructure can't quite match. The mechanism is subtle. In a sento, you cannot maintain the performances that structure most modern social interaction. The expensive clothing is gone. The phone is gone. The professional persona is gone. What remains is just bodies and warm water and the company of people who live near you. The honesty of that environment, repeated weekly or daily, builds relationships of a depth that air-conditioned coffee shops cannot produce. Most countries have lost their equivalent of the sento. Japan kept it, and the keeping continues to hold neighborhoods together, one shared bath at a time. Number 3. The inherited business. Japan contains more businesses over 100 years old than any other country on Earth. Many over 500 years old, a few over 1,000. Hotels, restaurants, sake breweries, sweet shops, all run by descendants of the families that founded them, often passing through 20 or 30 generations without interruption. What makes this possible isn't just cultural reverence for tradition, though that's part of it. It's a legal and social framework called Chinese that protects long-established businesses through specific tax structures, community recognition, and a cultural expectation that ownership is custodianship rather than possession. The current generation runs the business. They don't own it in the way an entrepreneur owns a startup. They inherit it from the past and pass it to the future. The economic consequences of this are profound. These businesses have institutional memory measured in centuries. They have customer relationships that span generations. They have brand identities that no marketing could manufacture. The shop where your great-great-grandmother bought sweets is still making sweets. In the same building, using the same recipes, run by a woman whose ancestor served your ancestor. This produces a kind of stability in Japanese commercial life that most other countries have completely lost. Businesses don't get acquired and dissolved every 15 years. Knowledge doesn't disappear when founders retire. The continuity that the modern economy aggressively prioritizes against is the thing Japanese commercial culture quietly chose to protect. Number 2. The forest as hospital. A practice that has spread across Japan over the past 40 years called Shinrin-yoku forest bathing treats forest environments as legitimate medical infrastructure. Doctors prescribe forest visits the way other doctors prescribe medication. Specific certified trails are designated for therapeutic use. Trained guides lead patients through structured sensory engagement with the woods. The science underneath this isn't soft. Japanese researchers have spent decades measuring physiological responses to forest environments. Phytoncides released by certain tree species directly affect human immune function. Specific frequencies of natural sound reduce cortisol measurably. Visual exposure to fractal patterns of leaves and branches reduces stress hormones within minutes. Japan didn't just observe that people feel better in forests. The country quantified the effect, identified the active mechanisms, built infrastructure around it, and integrated the practice into the formal healthcare system. Insurance covers forest therapy in many cases. Hospitals refer chronic condition patients to certified guides. Forests became part of the healing apparatus rather than something separate from it. What this represents is a fundamental rethinking of where medicine ends and where the rest of life begins. The forest was always there. Its therapeutic effects were always real. Japan was the country that decided those effects counted, built systems to deliver them at scale, and changed the definition of what hospitals can include. Most other countries still treat nature as decoration around their healthcare. Japan made the nature itself the treatment, and the patients got better in ways that medications alone could never have produced. Number 1. The principle beneath everything. There's something that runs underneath every Japanese idea on this list, a single underlying instinct that produced all the others. It's the instinct of asking, with complete seriousness, whether the existing version of an ordinary thing is actually as good as it could be. Most cultures stop asking that question once a system works. The system works, so leave it alone. Japan kept asking. The beer pour worked. Could it work better? The parking lot worked. Could it use less land? The forest existed. Could it heal more people? The bath cleaned the body. Could it also build the community? The question never quite gets answered because every answer reveals another question. The result is a culture that exists in a state of continuous quiet refinement applied to everything by everyone all the time. The chopstick rest, the genkin, the sliding wall, the shared bath. None of these is the product of a single brilliant inventor. All of them are the product of generations of people refusing to accept that good enough was actually good enough. That's the idea beneath all the other ideas. The willingness to ask whether ordinary life could be slightly better repeated across centuries, applied to everything from train platforms to funeral programs to forest paths. The country didn't get advanced by accident. It got advanced by refusing to stop asking the question, and asking it about things most cultures don't consider worth questioning. Number 24. Kigumi. Buildings that hold together without a single nail. Here's a sentence that should not be true. Some of the oldest standing wooden structures on Earth were built without nails, screws, glue, or metal fasteners of any kind, and they have survived over 1,000 years of earthquakes. The technique is called kigumi, the traditional Japanese art of interlocking wood joinery. Instead of fastening pieces together, craftsmen carve the ends of timber into precise interlocking shapes, three-dimensional puzzles that slide together and lock under their own geometry. Japan sits on 4 tectonic plates. Rigid nailed structures fight seismic energy and snap. Kigumi structures absorb and disperse it. The joints flex slightly during a quake, then settle back. Horyuji Temple in Nara, built in the 7th century using these techniques, is the oldest surviving wooden structure on Earth. UNESCO recognized kigumi as intangible cultural heritage. They solved the nail before the nail existed, and the buildings are still standing. Number 23. Electricity. Generating pavements, the floor that charges itself. In 2008, a Japanese company called Sound Power installed piezoelectric floor tiles at Shibuya Station, tiles that convert the pressure of a footstep into an electrical charge. Every step taken produces a small current. In a location where millions of people walk daily, small multiplies into something real. The tiles at Tokyo Station now power LED information boards and station lighting. Narita Airport's piezoelectric walkways generate electricity for signage. Japan took a 19th century laboratory observation about crystals generating voltage under pressure and put it under commuters' feet. The people walking through the building are the building's power source. Number 22. Tachigui. They removed the chair and made lunch faster. Tachigui, standing eating, is a dining format that has existed in Japan for centuries and makes complete sense the moment you think about it. No chairs. You stand, you eat, you leave. Standing ramen bars, soba stalls, and sushi counters operate this way across Japan, particularly near train stations. What Tachigui solved is the problem of the meal that takes longer than the hunger. Tachigui eliminates every wait except the eating. Walk in, order, receive food in seconds, eat standing at the counter, pay, leave. The whole transaction completes in 8 minutes. The format doesn't signal low quality. It signals respect for the fact that sometimes you are hungry, you have 20 minutes, and you'd like to solve the problem and get on with your day. Number 21. Self-foaming canned beer. The can that pours its own head. Japanese beer culture treats the foam head as functional, not decorative. It seals the beer, slows oxidation, and moderates carbonation release, producing a smoother drink. The problem is that canned beer rarely produces a proper head without a trained pour. Kirin solved this in 2009 with a capsule of pressurized nitrogen embedded at the base of the can. Pull the tab, the capsule is pierced, nitrogen expands upward through the beer, and a dense, fine-bubbled foam head rises to the top on its own. No pour, no tilt, no technique required. You open it, and it produces a draft-quality head, exactly as from a tap. Suntory followed with their own version. Number 20. Vein Finder Medical Devices. The machine that sees through your skin. Finding a vein for an IV or blood draw is genuinely difficult for a significant portion of patients. Elderly people, children, anyone with narrow or deep veins. Multiple needle attempts cause pain, bruising, and anxiety. It's one of the most common sources of distress in routine medical settings. Japanese medical device engineers developed handheld vein visualization devices that project near-infrared light onto skin. Hemoglobin absorbs infrared at a different rate than surrounding tissue, making veins appear as dark lines. A processor converts this contrast in real time and projects a live map of the vein network directly back onto the patient's skin, aligned with millimeter precision. The nurse sees exactly where the vein is before the needle moves. Number 19. Film tape. Highlighters. They replaced ink with physics. The standard highlighter bleeds through thin paper, smears on fresh ink, creates a muddy mess over a previous highlight, and cannot be undone. Japan fixed all of those problems simultaneously without changing what a highlighter is. The film tape highlighter, from companies like King Jim and Kokuyo, uses a roll of semi-transparent colored film instead of ink. Roll it across text, and a thin physical film adheres lightly to the surface. No smearing, no bleed-through, no ink drying out, no cap to lose. And critically, it peels back off cleanly if you highlighted the wrong line. That's the move Japan makes repeatedly. Not reinventing, just completing. Number 18. Anti-hangover drinks sold next to the alcohol. Japan produces functional beverages specifically formulated to prevent or reduce hangover symptoms, and sells them at every convenience store, in the section right next to the beer and spirits. The most prominent, Ukon no Chikara by House Foods, contains concentrated turmeric extract with documented effects on alcohol metabolism, specifically the liver's processing of acetaldehyde, the compound primarily responsible for hangover symptoms. It's taken before or during drinking and has been available at Japanese konbini for decades. Number 17. Connecting calendar stamp tool. One stamp fills a week. This is a rubber stamp that produces an unreasonable amount of satisfaction. The Midori paintable stamp is a rolling or hinge stamp that prints a continuous, connectable calendar grid onto any paper. Each press produces a week of dated boxes that align seamlessly with the previous press. Stamp again, flush with the first, and you have 2 weeks, perfectly aligned, looking printed rather than stamped. Any length, any time period, on any notebook page, in seconds. No printing, no pre-formatted planner required. The connecting calendar stamp doesn't just work. It works in a way that's tactilely rewarding enough that people choose it over a printed planner they already paid for. It is a rubber stamp. And it is, inexplicably, one of the most elegant planning tools ever made. Number 16. Orange juice served inside a real orange. At premium juice bars and department store food halls across Japan, fresh squeezed orange juice arrives not in a cup, but inside the orange itself. The fruit is cut, juiced internally, and presented with the top as a lid. You receive what appears to be an orange. You drink fresh juice from it. The packaging is the product. No cup, no lid, no straw required. Japan treats presentation as an inseparable component of the product itself. The juice isn't better because it's in an orange, but the experience of having juice is different, and that difference is real. The idea is so simple it borders on obvious. The global juice industry still hasn't adopted it at scale. Number 15. Sushi plate disposal reward system. At chains like Kurasushi and Sushiro, when you finish a plate, you slot it into a small chute in the table. The restaurant tracks your consumption and bills automatically. That much is practical. But then the layer on top kicks in. Every 5 plates inserted triggers an on-table screen game. Every 15 plates triggers a reward. Certain counts unlock small prizes. A capsule toy, a voucher, a bonus item. The system turns plate disposal, a chore in every other restaurant format, into the mechanic of a game. You are being mildly rewarded for clearing your own table. Number 14. Cane that converts into a portable seat. Japan has the world's oldest population by median age. Over 30% of the country is over 65. The product design culture that's grown around this demographic is sophisticated in a way no other country has needed to match. The seat cane converts from walking support to stable stool in a single motion without tools, and folds back with equal simplicity. Light enough to carry all day without fatigue, stable enough to sit on safely, and visually unobtrusive enough that people actually use it rather than leave it home out of vanity. That last detail is the real design insight, not the mechanism. Japan built a product that eliminates it, made it well, and placed it in mainstream retail rather than medical supply stores only. Japan designs for how people actually age. Most of the world doesn't. Number 13. Diatomaceous Earth Bath Mat. The floor that dries itself. A bath mat's job is to absorb water and dry your feet. The average fabric mat does the first half. It absorbs water, then becomes wet itself, stays wet for hours, and accumulates mold and bacteria in its fibers, if not laundered regularly. The Japanese diatomaceous earth bath mat, produced by companies like Soil using local diatomite from Akita Prefecture, does the other half. Diatomaceous earth is a naturally occurring mineral made from fossilized microscopic organisms, pure silica riddled with millions of pores. It holds up to 150% of its own weight in water and evaporates it almost instantly. Step on it wet. The surface is dry within minutes. No mold, no smell, no laundering. Refreshed by light sanding every few months. It is made of fossil dirt, and it outperforms every fabric mat ever produced on every functional metric. Japan made a better bath mat out of the ground. Number 12. Coffee in edible waffle cones. At certain coffee stalls across Japan, your espresso arrives in a small waffle cone. The inside is coated with chocolate, acting simultaneously as a flavor layer and a waterproof seal, preventing the hot liquid from soaking through until you're ready to eat it. You drink your coffee, then you eat the cup. No disposable cup, no lid, no sleeve, no waste. The vessel contributes to the experience, then disappears into you. The presentation is striking enough to be consistently photographed, and the taste of espresso followed immediately by warm chocolate-lined waffle is objectively good. It works best at espresso sizes. Japan's solution to this is to simply serve more espresso-sized drinks, which is arguably a separate improvement. The only reason every espresso bar in the world hasn't adopted this is that they haven't thought hard enough about the cup. Number 11. Solo Diner. Friendly restaurants. In most countries, eating alone in a restaurant is socially tolerated at best and structurally awkward at worst. Two-person tables dominate. The solo seat at the bar is the afterthought. Japan engineered the solo dining experience as a first-class product category. Ichiran Ramen places individual diners in their own partitioned wooden booth, separated from neighbors by a divider, from the kitchen by a bamboo screen that raises when your bowl is ready. You select your broth preferences on a paper form. The bowl appears. You eat entirely alone, without interaction, without ambient awareness of dining solo in public. Beyond Ichiran, Japan has an entire ecosystem of solo format counters and restaurant layouts that treat the individual as the base unit of dining rather than the couple or the group. This isn't antisocial. It is the recognition that a person eating alone deserves the same quality of experience as anyone else, which is both a design statement and a cultural one simultaneously. Number 10. Self-sealing. Jam jar lids. The standard jam jar lid has a problem most people have accepted so completely they've forgotten it's a problem. It doesn't reliably create an airtight seal on the second close. Over-tighten it and you can't open it next time. Under-tighten and the jam dries around the rim. The seal is manual, approximate, and user-dependent. Japanese food packaging, particularly from companies like Aohara, uses resealable designs that create a positive seal without requiring precise torque. Some versions use a center-to-press mechanism. When sealed, the lid center is concave, confirming vacuum. You close the lid. It seals. You do not have to think about whether it's sealed. This is the difference between a product that works and a product you have to work with. Japan, as a consistent cultural priority, prefers the former, applied across soy sauce caps, beverage bottles, and condiment containers, with the same level of care. Number 9. Paper-based disposable razors. Kai Group developed a razor with a handle made from dense compressed paper composite, sufficient rigidity and grip for a single shave, after which the entire unit can be recycled in paper streams rather than sent to landfill as mixed plastic waste. The blade is still metal because there is no paper blade that shaves a face. but the bulk of plastic in a conventional disposable razor is replaced with paper pulp, cutting plastic content by roughly 60% while maintaining identical functional performance. No price premium, no degraded feel in the hand, no trade-off of any kind. There is only less plastic in a landfill. Billions of plastic disposable razors are discarded globally each year, almost universally non-recyclable. The reason the paper version isn't universal has nothing to do with the engineering, and everything to do with whether anyone bothered to try. Number 8. Portable paper soap sheets. A credit card-sized booklet containing thin sheets of paper that dissolve in water and foam into soap lather. Each sheet weighs almost nothing. The booklet fits in a wallet. Japanese companies have sold these for decades. They're standard items in Japanese emergency preparedness kits. In a post-earthquake context, portable sanitation becomes immediately critical, and soap packets take up space and can spill. Paper soap sheets have compressed a liquid product into a dry format with no functional loss. The soap works. It lathers. It rinses clean. No bottle to run out of, no pump to fail, no liquid to spill. The international reaction when people discover them is always the same. Why didn't I know about this? And why is this not everywhere? Number 7. Storm Prevention and Response Centers. Japan's disaster response infrastructure is not a crisis reaction mechanism. It is treated as permanent standing infrastructure, designed with the same rigor as hospitals and transit systems. The country operates dedicated disaster response centers, not repurposed offices, but facilities specifically built, staffed, and equipped for emergency coordination. The Japan Meteorological Agency issues typhoon warnings 72 hours in advance. Municipal emergency centers activate in tiered stages with pre-assigned roles for every staff member. No decisions need to be made in the moment, because all decisions were made in the drill. The J-Alert system can push an earthquake warning to every mobile phone in the country within seconds of detection, fast enough that people receive the alert before the shaking reaches them. Japan loses fewer lives to catastrophic earthquakes and typhoons than other countries experience in smaller events, because the infrastructure for response was built before the emergency rather than improvised during it. The idea: treat disaster preparation as engineering, not as planning. Number 6. Bottom up. Beer tornado dispenser. The tornado beer server fills a pint glass from the bottom up. The glass has a small magnet-sealed hole in its base. Place it on the dispenser, the base opens onto the filling nozzle, and beer fills upward from below. No pour, no tilt, no angle management. When full, lift the glass off. The magnetic valve closes automatically, sealing the hole completely. A perfectly poured glass with a controlled, consistent head, filled in a fraction of the time of a conventional pour, requiring zero skill. Every variable that makes conventional pouring inconsistent is eliminated. The beer fills from the bottom, rises to the top, and the hole stops existing when you pick it up. You are holding a normal glass of beer that was filled from a direction beer was not previously fillable from. It is not a magic trick. It is the engineering answer to the problem that filling from the top is inherently imprecise, and a valve in the base was the better approach. Number 5. Curved and spiral escalators. In 1985, Mitsubishi Electric unveiled the world's first practical spiral escalator, an escalator that curves continuously while carrying people. This is an object that should not work. An escalator requires a continuous loop of steps, each remaining perfectly level as the incline rises. On a straight escalator, that geometry is already a precise mechanical achievement. On a curve, every step must independently compensate for its changing angle relative to the spiral's radius, maintaining a level surface throughout a path that is simultaneously rising and turning. Mitsubishi solved this with steps of independently adjustable widths, each slightly wedge-shaped, adjusting its angle through the arc. The reason isn't aesthetic. Curved escalators allow buildings to design floor layouts that a straight escalator would interrupt. The spiral becomes an architectural element rather than an intrusion, something that looks like the building grew it. Mitsubishi built curved escalators because a straight one forces the building to design around the machine. A curved one lets the building design around itself. Number 4. chocolate slices like cheese slices. In Japan, Meiji and other manufacturers produce chocolate in individually wrapped flat slices, formatted identically to processed cheese slices. Same peel-apart wrapper, same refrigerator stacking, same handling window before melting. The format solves several chocolate problems at once. Portioning. Each slice is a defined serving. Storage. Flat stacks take up predictable space. Sharing. Individual slices distribute without crumbling. Melting. The thin, flat format integrates into food. Sandwiches, pastries, crepes, the same way cheese does. Japanese convenience store hot food sections use these slices in toasted items for exactly this reason. Meiji looked at cheese's format and asked whether chocolate's format should match. It should. It does. This is either the most obvious idea in confectionery history, or a genuinely new thought that somehow didn't happen anywhere else first. Possibly both. Number 3. Mini desktop vacuums. The eraser crumb is the kind of problem most of the world quietly ignores. It's small, harmless, easy to brush aside. Japan looked at it and decided even that deserved a proper solution. So they built one. Japanese stationery makers created miniature desktop vacuum cleaners designed specifically for the scale of a desk. These aren't gimmicks. They're compact, fully functional devices, USB or battery powered, with real suction, a tiny dust chamber, and a proper filter. You run it across your desk once, and the eraser debris, pencil shavings, paper dust, even stray crumbs disappear. No brushing things onto the floor. No wiping them into your palm and wondering where to put them. It's clean in seconds. Then the device goes back to its place beside your pen holder, ready for the next small mess. It costs about as much as a decent pen. That's part of the point. This level of refinement isn't reserved for luxury. It's built into the everyday. In Japan, the stationery industry treats every minor friction in desk work as something worth redesigning. Film tape highlighters replace ink with transparent strips that don't bleed or smear. Connecting calendar stamps turn a blank page into a structured planner in a single press. Each tool removes a tiny inconvenience so completely that you stop thinking about it altogether. Individually, these problems are trivial. Together, they shape the experience of working. That's what makes the mini vacuum so telling. It doesn't just clean crumbs. It represents a standard where even crumbs are considered part of the design problem, and therefore, part of the solution. Number 2. The mandatory fruit juice content. Labeling law? This one doesn't come in a box or sit on a shelf. It doesn't hum, fold, click, or dispense anything. It's quieter than that. It's a rule, and a remarkably sharp one. In Japan, any drink that contains fruit juice must clearly state the exact percentage of juice on the front of the package, not tucked into microscopic ingredient lists, not disguised behind poetic branding, just a number sitting in plain sight. You glance once, and the truth is already there. 5% means 5%. 100% means exactly that. No clever phrasing, no lush illustrations of fruit doing the heavy lifting for what's essentially flavored sugar water. The label and the liquid agree with each other. Contrast that with places where a drink can wear the costume of fruit, bright colors, tropical names, orchard imagery, while the actual fruit content hides in fine print like a footnote no one reads. Japan looked at that gap between appearance and reality and closed it with a single requirement. No drama, no complexity. Just clarity, and once you experience that kind of clarity, it's hard not to miss it everywhere else. Number 1. The nail-free wood joinery. Toy Kigumi in your hands. We began with Kigumi as something monumental, wooden temples standing for over 1,000 years, held together without a single nail. Now shrink that idea down until it fits in your palm, and something quietly magical happens. Enter Kumiki. Intricate wooden puzzles built from interlocking pieces that rely on the same geometric principles as traditional Japanese joinery. These are not ordinary puzzles. There are no instructions folded into the box, no diagrams to decode. Each piece is shaped with such precision that it only fits in one place, one way. The solution is not forced. It reveals itself. You don't solve the puzzle so much as discover how it wants to come together. The forms vary. Spheres that bloom outward, Cubes that lock with satisfying finality, stars that seem impossible until suddenly they aren't. The experience feels less like problem solving and more like unlocking a quiet secret hidden in the wood. Every successful assembly carries a small spark of realization. So that's how it works. These puzzles trace back to the Edo period, where craftsmanship and play were never far apart. Today, they sit in craft stores, museum gift shops, and curious hands across Japan, bridging centuries of knowledge with a simple, tactile experience. What makes this idea extraordinary is not just the design, but the translation. A structural system capable of holding buildings through earthquakes has been miniaturized into something anyone can hold, turn, and understand. No tools, no training, no failure required. It's engineering, yes. It's art, certainly. But more than anything, it's an invitation, a way to feel, quite literally, how centuries of wisdom fit together. Number 11. Remote-controlled smart bathtub system. In Japan, a standard feature of mid-range and above bathroom units is a bathtub system connected to a wall panel or a smartphone that allows you to fill, heat, and maintain the bath to an exact temperature from anywhere in the home. You finish dinner, tap a button from the kitchen, and by the time you walk to the bathroom, the bath is full and at precisely 41 degrees. If the water cools while you're still in it, the system reheats it automatically without you having to add more hot water manually or adjust taps. A voice chime announces when the bath is ready. The water level is controlled digitally. Some units allow you to start the process from outside the house entirely. Japan decided that running a bath, something that has been done the same way since indoor plumbing was invented, was still not convenient enough. The physical act of walking to a bathroom, turning taps, testing water temperature with your hand, waiting, adjusting, all of it unnecessary friction. So they removed all of it. Number 10. Instant noodles. This one belongs on the list not because it's new, but because it might be the most impactful food invention of the 20th century, and it came entirely from Japan. Momofuku Ando invented instant noodles in 1958 after observing long queues of people waiting for hot ramen in post-war Osaka. He spent a year developing a method of flash frying noodles so they could be dried, packaged, rehydrated in boiling water in 2 minutes, and sold for a fraction of the cost of a restaurant meal. Cup noodles followed in 1971, taking the concept further by eliminating even the need for a separate bowl. Instant noodles now feed approximately 100 billion servings per year globally. They are a primary food source for students, disaster relief operations, military rations, and low-income households across every continent. When researchers surveyed Japanese people about the most important Japanese invention of the 20th century, instant noodles ranked first, above the Walkman, above bullet trains, above everything. Japan invented fast, cheap, hot food that anyone on Earth could prepare without a kitchen, a budget, or any skill. The world has been eating it ever since. Number 9. Heated toilet seat with bidet. The Japanese toilet, the washlet, pioneered by Toto, is the entry that makes every foreign visitor go silent for a moment and then immediately ask why their home country doesn't have these. Heated seat, adjustable pressure bidet wash with temperature control, air dryer, automatic lid that opens as you approach and closes after you leave, deodorizer, ambient noise generator for privacy, built-in nightlight. All of this controlled by a panel mounted on the wall or an arm on the side of the seat. The washlet was introduced in 1980. Japan now has them in over 80% of households. Hotels, department stores, train stations, and restaurants of any quality use them as standard. Visitors consistently report that using one for the first time recalibrates their expectation for what a bathroom should feel like. Japan turned the most mundane room in a home into its most thoughtfully engineered space. Once you've used a washlet, a regular toilet feels like a step backward in civilization. Number 8. Chopstick training. Hinge. A small plastic clip attaches to chopsticks near the top, connecting them with a spring hinge that holds them like tongs. For children or first-time users, it turns chopsticks from a coordination challenge into something manageable. The device needs no instructions. You clip it on, pick up food, and the hinge stabilizes. Remove it when no longer needed. It's small, cheap, and sold in kitchenware aisles across Japan. Japan made one of the most coordination-dependent utensils accessible from day one. That's not minor. It ensures no one is left out at the table. Number 7. Self-healing concrete. Japanese researchers developed concrete embedded with capsules containing bacteria like bacillus. When water enters a crack, the bacteria activate and produce calcium carbonate, effectively limestone, which seals the crack. The concrete heals itself. Cracks from stress or age close over time as the bacteria work. Capsules stay dormant until needed, activating at damage points. No detection, no repair crew, no downtime. Japan faces significant seismic stress. Infrastructure cannot rely on static materials alone. Developing materials that respond to damage like living tissue isn't optional. It's an engineering priority, and Japan treated it as one. Number 6. Transforming standing pencil case. Japan's standing pencil case is a flat, zippered case that, when opened, folds outward into a three-dimensional organizer with compartments visible from above. Pens in one section, scissors in another, notes in a third. When done, it collapses flat and returns to your bag. No separate organizer, no scattered supplies, no digging for a pen. The case organizes when opened and undoes it when closed. Japan applied design thinking to a product most consider finished. The result makes other pencil cases feel incomplete. Japan does this often, refining what others stop improving. Number 5. Hands-free book page holder. Clip. A flexible clip attaches to the spine of an open book and extends small arms that rest on the page edges, holding it flat without hand contact. You place the book down, clip it, and read hands-free. Both hands free for anything else. The device is lightweight, adjustable, leaves no marks, and collapses flat. It's sold in stationery shops and bookstores across Japan. Students, professionals, and elderly readers use it. Japan looked at holding a book open and decided it shouldn't require effort. The content deserves your attention. The mechanics shouldn't take any. Number 4. High-performance enzyme stain remover. Japanese laundry science is advanced. Products like Lion Top Nanox use concentrated multi-enzyme formulas that target stains at a molecular level. Protease handles proteins, lipase targets grease, amylase breaks carbohydrates, and cellulase lifts particles, separating stains from fabric. The formula is so concentrated that a few milliliters per load is enough. It works fully in cold water and is widely available at everyday prices. Japan treated clean laundry as a solved problem and kept refining it anyway, at the molecular level, until the solution became almost invisible. Number 3. Stretchable silicone food. Covers. Reusable silicone covers stretch to fit bowls, plates, pots, or containers of any shape. They grip the rim, form a seal without clips, and hold at any angle. You can cover a half-eaten watermelon or a bowl. Dishwasher safe, microwave safe, reusable, and they replace cling film. Japan's versions use food-grade silicone with enough elasticity for irregular shapes, edges, and handles. No measuring, no cutting. You stretch it on, it stays. The product feels obvious, but the material engineering behind consistent stretch and grip isn't trivial. Japan solved it and made it feel natural. Number 2. Lunchbox food separation. Dividers. Japan's bento culture has produced a micro-industry of food organization tools, and the silicone food divider, a small insert placed inside a lunchbox to separate dishes, is one of the most quietly perfect. The dividers come in multiple shapes, fit standard boxes, and ensure rice doesn't absorb sauce, fruit doesn't make sandwiches soggy, and everything arrives as packed. They are washable, reusable, and stack flat. Japan has treated lunchboxes with unusual seriousness. The divider isn't the flashiest product, but it's the one that makes everything taste as it should. Number 1. Hair dryer with moisture infusion technology. And we close on something that sounds like marketing until you look at the engineering. Panasonic NanoCare hair dryers emit nano-sized water particles with hot airflow. Standard dryers evaporate moisture, leaving hair dry. This system reintroduces microscopic moisture, maintaining hydration during drying. The result is dry hair that retains its natural balance. Frizz is reduced by preserving what's there. The technology is clinically validated. Japan took a device unchanged for decades and improved its function. not speed or appearance. That instinct to refine what already exists is what defines it. And that's 24 Japanese ideas so smart, they feel like someone was cheating at civilization. From robotic extra limbs to a hairdryer that understands moisture science, Japan finds the friction in ordinary life and removes it. Quietly, thoroughly, and usually years before anyone else notices the problem. If any of these made you rethink how simple things could work, like subscribe and drop it in the comments. We'll see you in the next one. There's a version of innovation that gets all the attention. The moonshot, the billion-dollar lab, the press release. And then there's the kind Japan specializes in. The quiet redesign of something you interact with every single day. Done so well that when you finally notice it, you feel a little embarrassed it took you this long. Not a new product category. The same product category, but finished. Actually finished. Here are Japanese ideas so smart, they're on a whole new level. Anti-drowsiness car seat sensors. The seat that knows you're falling asleep. Drowsy driving kills. Not occasionally, routinely. The U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates tens of thousands of crashes annually are caused by fatigued drivers. The standard solution is a sign telling you to take a break, which is about as effective as a sign telling you not to be tired. Japan developed a different approach. Toyota and several Japanese automotive engineering firms have been developing car seat systems embedded with arrays of sensors that monitor the driver's vital signs continuously, without any wearable device, without any camera pointing at their face, and without requiring them to do anything differently than they normally would. The sensors read micro vibrations in the seat that correspond to the driver's heartbeat and respiratory rate. Those signals are processed by onboard algorithms that compare them against established baseline patterns for alert versus fatigued states.
It will activate a visual warning on the screen. Drive safe.
Face-reading vending machines. The machine that knows what you want. Japan has one vending machine for every 23 people, more per capita than any other country. They sell beer, ramen, umbrellas, and fresh produce. And since around 2010, the most advanced have been reading your face before you touch the screen. JR East Water Business deployed machines at Tokyo Station with cameras that analyze estimated age, gender, and time of day. Then surface drink recommendations calibrated to those factors before the customer has made any selection. A man in his 40s during morning commute hours sees a different recommended front page than a woman in her 20s at midday. The system integrates temperature data, cold drinks in summer, hot drinks in cold weather, and continuously updates its model based on what customers actually choose after seeing the suggestion.
Ooh, it's a fiber-rich salad. It's got a type of sweet potato called Beni Haruka.
Smart grocery baskets with auto-scanning, checkout while you shop. In 2016, Panasonic unveiled the Reiji Robo system with Lawson convenience stores in Osaka. A shopping basket with embedded RFID readers that scan every tagged item placed inside it automatically, maintaining a running total as the customer shops. When done, the basket is placed on the checkout station. Its base slides open, the contents drop gently into a waiting bag. The total appears. Payment is made. Cashier interaction time, near zero. The system required every product to carry an RFID tag rather than a standard barcode, a significant infrastructure investment. But the result is a checkout experience where shopping and paying are effectively merged.
はい、スキャンできます。今日のお昼はこれにします。
Heated shoe insoles. Solving winter from the ground up. Hokkaido winters are brutal. Temperatures well below freezing for months, snow measured in meters. Japanese product designers address the problem from the most mechanically logical point, the sole of the foot, where heat loss is most consequential. Electrically heated insoles from companies including Koyama use flexible heating elements distributed across the insole surface to maintain consistent warmth regardless of external temperature. Early versions were battery-powered with fixed heat settings. Modern iterations include Bluetooth and companion apps that adjust temperature remotely, set heating schedules tied to your commute, and monitor battery level without removing your shoes. The insole format is the Insight. It heats where it matters most, the foot-to-ground contact surface, without the bulk of winter boots. This matters enormously in Japan, where shoes come off at the door of almost every private home. A heated insole inside normal shoes provides winter warmth without requiring winter footwear. One product, two problems solved. Self-heating. Ramen containers. Boiling water without fire. The mechanism is chemistry presented as convenience. Inside the base of the container, quicklime, calcium oxide, is separated from a water sachet by a thin membrane. Pull a tab and the membrane ruptures. Quicklime and water react in an exothermic reaction, generating temperatures above 100 degrees Celsius in the sealed chamber below the food compartment. No flame, no electricity, no microwave. The container generates its own heat. This technology was first commercially deployed in Japan for self-heating sake, then expanded to ramen, oden, coffee, and bento formats. The self-heating Shinkansen Ekiben, a station bento heated by this mechanism, has been a fixture of Japanese train travel for decades, sold at convenience stores and outdoor retailers for hikers and winter commuters. You pull a tab, wait a few minutes, and your ramen is hot. The food didn't need a kitchen. The container brought one. Spotless garbage truck. Maintenance. They decided rubbish trucks should be clean. In most countries, a garbage truck is understood to be inherently a dirty vehicle. It collects refuse. Cleanliness is not the expectation. The truck is functional infrastructure, not a presentation object. Japan disagreed. Municipal garbage trucks across Japanese cities are maintained in a state that in other countries would be considered appropriate for a company car. Drivers wash the exterior at the start and end of each shift. Panels are wiped. Branding is kept legible. The cab interior is clean and organized. Many drivers carry small personal touches, a neatly arranged cab, polished trim that reflect individual pride in the vehicle. This standard is not mandated by national regulation. It is maintained by a workforce culture that treats the assigned vehicle as an extension of how the work is performed. The cleanliness of the truck is a statement made voluntarily, maintained consistently, and visible to every person the truck passes through every street of every shift. Public phone charging stations, free power as civic infrastructure. In Japanese train stations, shopping centers, and public squares, free phone charging stations are installed as standard civic amenity, the same category as a public bench or a water fountain. Not the for-profit kiosks that populate airports in other countries, charging by the minute from a locked cabinet. Open, free charging points, USB-A, USB-C, wireless pads, maintained by municipal authorities or station operators. No payment, no login, no membership, no time limit. The philosophy Japan applies to public space broadly. Infrastructure should solve the problems people actually experience while using it. A person whose phone has died in a train station has a real, immediate problem. A charging point costs the provider negligible electricity. Manhole cover art. Turning utility into public gallery. Japan has approximately 1.5 million manhole covers, owned by municipalities, required by regulation. Since the Ichi 1980s, municipalities have been commissioning custom designs specific to their city. Kochi's covers feature the Yosakoi dance. Nagoya's show, Nagoya Castle. Coastal towns depict marine life. Some are cast in color using enamel processes that require a genuine double take to confirm they are infrastructure rather than sculpture. This created an entirely new tourism category, manhole cover collecting, where enthusiasts travel across prefectures to photograph local designs. A formal trading card series, manhole cards, issued free by municipalities to visitors at designated locations, generates measurable tourism revenue for small towns whose primary attraction is, technically, a drain. Umbrella vending machines. The solution. Where the problem is, transparent plastic umbrellas are sold in vending machines positioned at the exits of train stations, shopping centers, and convenience stores. The placement is deliberate, exactly at the moment the customer discovers it is raining, as they approach the exit and see the weather. The price is modest. The transaction is 15 seconds. The umbrella is in your hand before you step outside. This sounds almost too simple to mention, until you count how many times in how many countries a person has reached a building exit in unexpected rain, with no recourse except to wait, get wet, or pay a street vendor. The umbrella machine is pure problem placement engineering, the product positioned at the exact geographic and temporal coordinates of the problem, not near it. At it. LED road. Studs that respond to rain and speed. Japan's road infrastructure includes intelligent LED studs embedded in road surfaces and guardrails that respond dynamically to conditions. When sensors detect rainfall, studs increase illumination intensity along wet sections. When vehicle speed exceeds safe thresholds for current conditions, warning patterns change. In tunnel approaches and blind curves, LED sequences guide drivers through road geometry that static markings cannot adequately communicate. The studs are solar-powered during daylight, running from stored charge at night. No external power connection, no trenching. Pressure-resistant to vehicle weight, waterproof, maintenance intervals measured in years. The transparent bathroom that frosts when you lock it in. Yoyogi Fukamachi Mini Park in Tokyo, architect Shigeru Ban designed public bathrooms with entirely transparent glass walls. You see in, you see everything, whether someone is inside, whether it's clean, whether it's safe, before you enter. Lock the door from inside. The glass frosts. Full opacity. Total privacy. The design solves two chronic public bathroom problems simultaneously. First, the fear of what's inside before you enter, which transparent walls eliminate completely. Second, the poor maintenance state of most public bathrooms, which is partly a visibility problem. When a bathroom is on display between uses, its maintenance standards are enforced by that visibility. Clean is the default because dirty is immediately apparent to everyone passing. The Robot Hotel. They staffed an entire hotel with machines. Henna Hotel. Strange Hotel. Opened in Nagasaki in 2015 and holds the Guinness World Record for first hotel primarily staffed by robots. The check-in desk is managed by humanoid robots processing reservations, issuing key cards, and answering questions in multiple languages. A robotic arm retrieves luggage from the cloakroom. Facial recognition replaces room keys. Guests unlock doors by standing in front of them. The operational model was the idea, not the spectacle. Labor costs are the single largest expense in hotel management. A robot check-in system that handles most guest interactions without wages, sick days, or shift scheduling represents a fundamentally different cost structure. The robots were eventually reduced after some units proved frustrating. The ratio of robot to human staff was adjusted. But the concept it launched, a systematic examination of which hotel functions require human judgment and which can be reliably automated, is now an active question throughout global hospitality. Automated multi-story parking towers. Cars stored like library books. Land is the most constrained resource in Japan's dense urban centers. A standard surface parking lot in Tokyo represents an extraordinary land cost per vehicle space. The answer, mechanical parking towers where a car is driven onto a platform, the driver exits, and the car is transported by internal elevator and carousel systems to an assigned space, stacked vertically, arranged horizontally, no ramps, no internal driving lanes, no wasted space. To retrieve the vehicle, the driver uses a ticket or app at the exit terminal. The system locates the car, navigates it back through the carousel to the exit platform, and presents it facing the correct direction, ready to drive, in roughly 90 seconds. These towers store 50 to 200 vehicles in a footprint that would hold 5 to 15 conventional spaces. Land efficiency ratio, 10-1. Forest bathing. As prescribed medicine, Shinrin-yoku. In 1982, Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries coined Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, and backed it with a funded research program that ran for over 20 years, producing a body of scientific literature that changed how medicine thinks about environments. The results were measurable and reproducible. Time spent immersed in forest environments reliably reduces cortisol, lowers blood pressure, decreases heart rate, and increases natural killer cell activity, a direct measure of immune function. The compounds responsible are phytoncides, antimicrobial volatile chemicals released by trees and absorbed through the respiratory system during normal breathing in a forest environment. These are not placebo effects. They show up in blood draws and saliva samples before and after controlled forest exposure. The Depa Chica, a gourmet city underground. Depa Chica, Depato, department store, plus Chica, underground, is the basement food hall of a Japanese department store, and it is one of the most remarkable retail environments on Earth. A standard Depa Chica contains between 50 and 200 individual food vendors, artisan bakeries, regional sake producers, premium confectioners, sushi counters, hot prepared food stalls, French pastry operations, fresh noodle makers, fruit sellers with individual grapes priced at thousands of yen. Not food court stalls, full businesses operating at standalone premium shop standards, compressed into a dense, curated environment. Escalator lane. Etiquette, an unwritten law. Everyone follows in Japanese cities. There is an unwritten rule governing escalators. Stand on one side, leave the other clear for walking. In Tokyo, stand left, walk right. In Osaka, stand right, walk left. These conventions are posted nowhere, enforced by no authority. Transmitted entirely through observation and social expectation. Learned the way language is learned, by being in the environment long enough to absorb the pattern. Compliance is high enough that the walkable lane flows continuously on busy escalators. A tourist standing on the wrong side will find a patient queue forming behind them within seconds. Not aggressive, not verbal, just a density of people waiting for the obstruction to resolve. The social pressure is enough. It always is. What Japan created here is spontaneous, cooperative infrastructure. A behavioral convention with the measurable efficiency properties of an engineered system. Coin locker culture. Temporary storage as civic utility. Coin lockers in Japan are not an afterthought of station design. They are planned, scaled, continuously iterated infrastructure that treats temporary personal storage as a genuine urban need. Major Tokyo stations contain thousands of individual lockers in multiple size categories, from laptop bag units to full rolling suitcase capacity. Payment by IC card, cash, or QR code. Remotely reservable, accessible anytime within the rental period, extendable online. Some stations offer temperature-controlled units for perishable items. Availability updates in real time so users can check before arriving. Sound-absorbing highway walls with embedded aesthetics. Japan's elevated expressways pass through dense urban and suburban areas where traffic noise is a persistent quality-of-life problem for millions of residents. The highway sound barrier, typically a plain concrete or metal panel, has become in Japan a designed object. Japanese barriers are engineered for acoustic performance first. Multi-layer construction tuned to vehicle noise frequencies, curved profiles that deflect sound upward rather than reflecting it back into lanes, and transparent acrylic panels in residential areas that maintain noise performance without the visual dominance of solid walls. Cat cafes, monetizing animal companionship without ownership. The cat cafe originated in Taiwan in 1998, but was adopted, refined, and proliferated in Japan from 2004 to a degree that made the format globally synonymous with Japanese urban culture. By 2010, Tokyo alone had over 60 cat cafes. The format had become a recognized commercial category with its own regulatory framework. The insight it operationalized was specific: A large proportion of Japanese urban apartment leases prohibit pet ownership. The demand for animal companionship, documented to reduce cortisol and improve psychological well-being through mechanisms similar to Shinrin-yoku, existed in a population legally unable to fulfill it at home. The cat cafe became the infrastructure that bridged the gap. Japan's cat cafes employ resident cats socialized for the environment, managed by staff monitoring health, rotation, and rest periods, and regulated by animal welfare guidelines establishing minimum care standards. Temperature display. Bath faucets. The tap that tells you before you touch Japanese bathroom faucets and shower units. Commonly featured digital temperature displays built directly into the fixture, a small readout showing current water temperature before, during, and after contact. You do not put your hand under the water to check. The number tells you. This is most consequential at the extremes of the age range. Young children and elderly people face the highest risk of scalding from hot water contact. A digital readout removes the need to test by touch, which itself carries injury risk if the water is too hot. For elderly users in Japan, where the bathing tradition involves very hot water and where bathing-related incidents including heat stroke are a documented health concern, confirming temperature before immersion is a measurable safety feature. Construction site hoardings as community experience. When a construction site goes up in Japan, the hoarding surrounding the perimeter is treated as a design brief, not an afterthought. Major construction hoardings in Tokyo and Osaka are covered with commissioned artwork, architectural illustrations of the completed building, historical photographs of the site's previous occupants, or carefully produced graphic schemes that turn the disruption into something worth looking at. Children's hospitals under construction have produced hoardings decorated with characters and educational content at child height. Landmark projects have commissioned local artists. Some hoardings incorporate small windows so passersby can watch the construction, rather than face only an opaque barrier. IC card transit system. One card for everything. Japan's Suica, Passmo, and regional IC card variants form a contactless infrastructure that has become one of the most integrated civilian payment systems anywhere on Earth. A Suica card works on virtually every train, subway, bus, and monorail across Japan, across different operators, different cities, different fare structures, without any additional setup or registration. The same card pays at convenience stores, vending machines, taxis, coin lockers, and retail shops nationwide. Transit gates open in 0.2 seconds on tap. Faster than a ticket, faster than a barcode scan, faster than any alternative the system replaced. The balance carries indefinitely and never expires. The card is now embeddable in a smartphone's NFC chip, so the physical card isn't required at all. Contactless payment exists in many other countries. Heated toilet seats. The thing that makes everywhere else feel unfinished. Over 80% of Japanese households have a toilet with a heated seat. The seat is pre-warmed to body temperature before you sit. The toilet knows you're approaching because of a motion sensor in the room, and the seat begins warming as you enter. Sitting on a cold toilet seat in winter is so universally uncomfortable, it has become a figure of speech. The solution: a thin heating element under the seat surface, controlled by a thermostat, triggered by motion, is not technologically complex. It is not expensive at scale. It has existed in Japan since 1980. The rest of the world still almost universally sits on cold toilet seats in winter. The reason is not engineering. It is simply that Japan solved this, and most other countries have not yet decided to. Vending machine disaster mode. The machine that feeds you when everything fails. Japan's vending machine network has one function that no other country replicates at scale: disaster supply mode. In the event of a declared emergency, earthquake, major flood, disaster declaration, networked vending machines across Japan can be remotely switched to free dispensing mode by the operator or municipal authority. The machines release their contents without payment. Water, hot drinks, food items, dispensed free of charge at the moment they are most needed, by machines that were selling at standard prices 30 seconds before the earthquake struck. This is not theoretical. Following the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, vending machines in affected areas dispensed free drinks at disaster sites. The system has been formally structured since. Multiple municipalities hold signed agreements with vending machine operators specifying trigger conditions, the communication protocol for activating free mode, and the compensation mechanism through which operators are reimbursed by local government for the stock they surrender. No improvisation is required at the moment of crisis. The infrastructure decision was made before the crisis. Everything else is automatic. The machines are already in every train station, every street corner, every public space. They are the most distributed point-of-sale network in the country. In a disaster, that distribution becomes the relief distribution network. The vending machine in Japan is not a convenience product. It is, when everything else fails, infrastructure. The glass that fills itself from the bottom. At certain Japanese bars, you place an empty glass on a pressurized platform. Beer rises through a valve in the base, filling upward from below. Foam forms naturally at the top where it belongs. When the glass is full, you lift it. The valve seals itself on removal. Not a drop spills. The physics behind this are simply better than conventional pouring. When beer falls into a glass from above, the impact forces carbonation out of solution aggressively, producing excess foam and reducing the liquid ratio. Filling from below allows the beer to rise with minimal agitation, preserving carbonation and producing a consistent, precise pour with no trained technique required from the operator. Japan applied engineering to the specific moment of the pour and found that the moment had been done wrong for centuries. The beer didn't change. The direction it travels changed. The result is measurably better. Japan noticed the physics were wrong, corrected them, and moved on. The parking tower that retrieves your car in 13 seconds. In Tokyo and Osaka, where land costs make surface parking economically absurd, automated towers store cars vertically across 15 or more floors. The process is straightforward. You drive onto a ground-level platform, step out, and walk away. A carousel and elevator system takes the car, locates an available bay, and parks it without a human touching it. To retrieve the vehicle, you insert your ticket. The tower locates your specific car, rotates the carousel, aligns the elevator, and delivers it to ground level facing the exit direction in under 2 minutes. You never enter the building. You never navigate a ramp or search a level. The car comes to you. The same footprint that parks one car at surface level parks 40 in a tower. Japan ran out of horizontal space, looked upward, and built a machine to manage what gravity alone could not. The driver stands outside and waits 13 seconds. Most people spend longer finding a button in a standard elevator. The road that melts its own snow. Niigata Prefecture receives some of the heaviest snowfall of any inhabited region on Earth. Its roads do not need plowing. They melt their own snow using a pipe network embedded beneath the asphalt through which groundwater circulates continuously during winter. Groundwater in Japan maintains a stable temperature of 12 to 15 degrees Celsius year-round, well above freezing. Pumped through pipes beneath the road surface, this water keeps the asphalt just warm enough that falling snow melts on contact before it accumulates. No salt trucks. No overnight crews, no corroded infrastructure from years of chemical treatment, no contaminated runoff entering local waterways. The system has operated in Niigata since the 1960s. Japan looked at cold climate infrastructure's most disruptive seasonal problem and found the solution sitting directly underground. It needed only pipes to connect them. The road has been managing winter passively for 60 years, while most cold climate cities are still paying people to drive in circles with salt. The vending machine that gives away food during earthquakes.
For the next week, I'm living on the best 20 vending machines in Tokyo, Japan, starting with number 20 of the 7-Eleven vending machine, with having different types of sandwiches and even hot meal.
Japan has around 5 million vending machines, many designed to switch into emergency mode. When earthquakes strike, selected units detect seismic activity or receive signals to release their contents for free. In disaster moments, when stores close and supply chains fail, these machines become instant relief points. They run on backup power and are already distributed across cities, stocked with water, food, and hot drinks. Japan didn't build separate emergency infrastructure, it upgraded what already existed. The same machines used daily transform into a decentralized support system, providing immediate access to essentials when traditional systems are disrupted. The machine that sanitizes library books. In 30 seconds, library books pass through hundreds of hands. They travel on public transport, sit on floors, and are handled during meals. The pages accumulate bacteria, particulate matter, and general contamination that the standard return process does nothing about. Most library systems have accepted this as unavoidable. Japanese public libraries installed ultraviolet sanitizing machines at return desks. A returned book is placed inside, the pages are rapidly aerated in front of UV light, and within 30 seconds, the interior surfaces are sanitized. No heat, no moisture, no chemicals that would damage paper or binding. The book returns to the shelf in measurably cleaner condition than it arrived. 30 seconds per book. A hygiene reality present in every lending library on Earth and acknowledged by almost none of them. Japan decided it wasn't unavoidable, which it turns out it wasn't. It just required someone to build the machine and the decision to install it. Both took less time than the problem had been running unchecked. The underground carousel that swallows your bicycle. A circular platform sits flush with the pavement. You roll your bike on, tap a card, and step back. In seconds, the eco-cycle takes it underground into a rotating storage drum. It disappears completely. Retrieval is just as fast. Your exact bike returns in seconds. Built for dense cities, it stores hundreds of bicycles beneath a 1-meter surface footprint. No clutter, no theft, no space lost. Instead of expanding racks, Japan moved the entire system underground, automated it, and returned the street above to pedestrians. The needle that shows you the vein before it enters. Drawing blood in patients with hard-to-find veins often leads to multiple attempts and discomfort. Japan addressed this with near-infrared vein imaging devices that make veins visible before insertion. The device projects infrared light onto the skin, and because hemoglobin absorbs it differently, a real-time map of veins appears directly on the surface. Clinicians can see exactly where to insert the needle, improving first-attempt success and reducing stress for both patient and provider. Japan treated the issue not as a skill limitation, but as a visibility problem. By revealing what was hidden, it transformed a routine but difficult procedure into a far more precise and comfortable experience. The luggage that arrives before you do. Japan's nationwide luggage forwarding service, Takyuban, removes the burden of carrying bags while traveling. Through Yamato Transport, you can drop luggage at hotels, airports, or convenience stores, and it arrives at your next destination, often the same day or by morning. With precise tracking and thousands of access points, the system is reliable and widely used. Travelers move freely through stations, stairs, and crowded streets without baggage. Instead of improving luggage itself, Japan eliminated the need to carry it. The responsibility shifts from the individual to the network, which handles it more efficiently. The sliding wall that predates every open-plan office by centuries. Traditional Japanese interiors use fusuma, sliding panels made of wood and paper that divide space without consuming it. Unlike hinge doors, they don't need clearance and can be removed to merge rooms instantly. A space can shift from private to open in seconds, then back again. This principle underlies modern flexible design, sliding partitions, folding walls, and open-plan layouts. Japan built it into homes over 1,000 years ago. The idea is simple. A wall should exist only when needed. When it isn't, it should disappear. Japan normalized this concept so completely that it became invisible, while the rest of the world continues to rediscover it as innovation. The Salon chair that fixed the part everyone hated. The typical salon shampoo requires awkward neck craning over a basin and accepted discomfort in most places. Japanese salons redesigned this with a head spa arch, a padded, contoured support that keeps the head and neck in a natural, relaxed position. Clients recline fully, with no strain, allowing the wash to feel genuinely calming rather than tolerable. What was once a minor inconvenience becomes a comfortable, extended experience. The change is simple but deliberate. Japan identified an unnecessary discomfort and removed it. No advanced technology, just attention to how something feels and the decision that it should feel better. The professional whose entire job is your ears. In Japan, there are businesses whose complete and entire service is ear cleaning. You arrive, recline, rest your head in the practitioner's lap, and undergo a 20 to 40-minute session in which your ears are professionally cleaned using small bamboo scoops, cotton spirals, and fine brushes, while receiving a scalp massage simultaneously. This is not a medical procedure. It is a grooming and relaxation service with centuries of history in Japanese domestic culture, where cleaning a family member's ears was an act of intimate care. The commercial parlor formalizes that intimacy as a bookable wellness appointment. Clients return regularly. The experience is described consistently as deeply calming in a way that resists full explanation until it has been experienced. Japan identified a personal care need that the rest of the world left commercially unaddressed, possibly because the proximity required felt awkward to formalize, and made it a legitimate industry with trained practitioners and loyal repeat clientele. The awkwardness was the only barrier. Japan removed it. The platform door that made the rail unsafe to reach. In most metro systems, the platform edge is an unguarded drop to electrified rails. A stumble, a moment of inattention, or an accidental push is the complete distance between a passenger and a fatal outcome. Safety lines are painted on the floor. Announcements are made. Incidents still happen. Japan's modern metro stations install full-height screen doors along the entire platform edge, a continuous sealed barrier between waiting passengers and the track, opening only when a train arrives and its doors align precisely with the screen panels. When no train is present, the barrier is sealed. The fall to the rail does not exist as an accessible hazard. An entire category of incident is eliminated. Dropped items cannot land on live rails. Climate control becomes possible since the platform is now sealed from the tunnel environment. Safety and energy efficiency from a single decision. Japan built it in as standard for new stations. Other metro systems are retrofitting it at significant expense. The logic was always there. The door just needed to be built. The weighing scale that moves information to when it's useful. Standard airport check-in produces a consistent and predictable pressure point. You reach the desk, lift your bag onto the scale, discover it is overweight, and manage a public negotiation about fees or frantic repacking while the queue waits directly behind you. The information arrives at the worst moment in the worst location. Japanese airports and hotel lobbies install floor-level scales in pre-check-in areas. The scale sits flush with the floor. You roll your bag directly onto it without lifting. The weight displays. You discover the problem, if there is one, before the queue, before the desk, before the social pressure, with space and time to solve it privately. The floor-level scale does not change what the information is. It changes when and where you receive it. Japan understands that the delivery point of information is as important as the information itself, and engineers both with equal care. The scale is a small thing. The principle it represents applies to almost every friction point in any organized system. The chocolate bar that became a map of a country. Japan produces over 300 regional and limited edition Kit Kat varieties, many exclusive to specific prefectures and available only through local shops and train station kiosks. Wasabi in Shizuoka, Hokkaido melon with cream cheese, matcha in Kyoto, purple sweet potato in Okinawa. The name Kit Kat sounds close to Kitokatsu. You will surely win. making it a culturally embedded examination gift. Nestle Japan developed this in partnership with regional governments and local ingredient suppliers, converting a standardized global product into a hyper-local collectible functioning simultaneously as gift, souvenir, and regional cultural artifact. Travelers now route through specific prefectures to find varieties unavailable anywhere else. The product became a tourism driver. A commodity chocolate bar became a detailed map of Japan's regional identity, with each prefecture represented by flavor. Japan took a globally uniform product and made it express local specificity so precisely that people travel to find the right one. That is not marketing. That is a fundamental rethinking of what a chocolate bar is allowed to do. The tiny apartment that makes larger ones feel unfinished. Tokyo's housing density has produced residential units of 15 to 25 square meters, where every decision is load-bearing. Every wall serves a function. Every surface carries storage. Beds fold into walls. Fixtures are sized precisely to the space, rather than adapted from standard dimensions that assume more room. Nothing is approximate. Nothing is wasted. The result consistently surprises people encountering these spaces for the first time. A well-designed Tokyo micro-apartment often feels more functional than a Western apartment twice its size, because the larger apartment contains loosely purposed zones and dead square footage, while the micro-apartment cannot afford either. Constraint produced precision. The design intelligence that emerges from extreme space limitation, multi-function furniture, vertical storage, modular organization is transferable regardless of floor area. Japan generates it out of necessity. The rest of the world borrows it because it works even when the necessity is removed. Japan was forced into the best version of residential design by a real estate market that left no alternative. The capsule toy machine that contains actual art. Gachapon, Japan's capsule vending machines, are understood internationally as novelty toy dispensers for children. This understanding is approximately 30 years out of date. Insert a coin, turn a handle, receive a plastic capsule. That is still the mechanism. What the capsule contains has become something else entirely. Japanese manufacturers, including Bandai and Kyoto, now produce capsule series with the material quality of display collectibles. Anatomically detailed marine biology models. 1 to 12 scale miniature foods with individual textures rendered in resin. Fully articulated figures small enough to rest on a fingertip. Artists collaborate with manufacturers on limited series that sell out within hours. Secondary markets develop around rare capsule series. Collectors plan travel routes around machine locations. Japan decided that a low price point, a randomized outcome, and a miniature scale were interesting creative constraints rather than limiting ones, and asked a serious question. What do you make when it must be beautiful, fit in a capsule, and cost under $5? Japan has answered that question tens of thousands of times. The answers are frequently extraordinary. The stamp that lets you build your own calendar. Japanese stationery culture produced the connecting calendar stamp set, a series of self-inking stamps producing individual date components, day blocks, month headers, and time grids that interlock on paper to construct a custom planning layout from scratch. No pre-printed planner, no rigid template. You stamp the structure the specific week or project requires, and plan within what you built. Pre-printed planners impose a structure that may not fit the user's actual planning reality. Weekly grids assume a scale. Monthly layouts assume a rhythm. The stamp set allows the user to construct planning architecture from scratch at whatever scale the moment requires. Japan's stationery industry consistently treats every small friction in physical desk work as a legitimate design problem. The connecting stamp extends that principle to the container of planning itself, not just what tools are used within a plan, but what shape the plan should take. Most productivity tools give you a structure and tell you to adapt. Japan made a tool that adapts to you. The private space. Hiding inside every Japanese city, the Japanese manga cafe, Manga Kisa, is a private pod facility found across urban Japan. For an hourly fee, you access a small, enclosed personal booth with a reclining chair, computer, internet, and access to thousands of manga volumes. Shower facilities, a drink bar, light food, and blankets are included. You can stay an hour, you can stay 12. They are used by commuters who missed the last train, remote workers needing private space, travelers between flights, and people experiencing housing insecurity for whom a conventional room is financially out of reach. The Manga Cafe is a formal, affordable, dignified short-term private space in cities where hotel rooms are expensive and public space is relentlessly shared. Japan created a commercial product that incidentally functions as a social infrastructure layer, providing warmth, shelter, privacy, rest, and connectivity to anyone who needs it, on a pay-per-hour basis, accessible in every major urban area, with no bureaucratic process required to enter. It is a business that quietly does something much larger than being a business. The ice cream that eliminated the part where it falls apart. Traditional ice cream has a built-in flaw. Melting ruins the experience. Cones collapse, bars drip, cups need spoons and surrender to heat. Japan's squeezable ice cream pouch fixes only that problem. The sealed tube lets you push ice cream upward at your own pace. No dripping, no mess, no structural failure. You can pause and continue without consequence. It works in any weather. The ice cream itself hasn't changed. The container has. Japan often improves things this way, not by reinventing them, but by identifying the one part that doesn't work perfectly and redesigning just that piece. The family you can hire for any occasion. Companies like Family Romance employ actors who can be hired as family, friends, or partners. Clients rent a father for events, a companion for gatherings, or a stand-in relative when someone is gone. Actors prepare in advance and stay in character, sometimes across years of repeat engagements. These aren't extreme cases, but ordinary people navigating absence, loss, or distance. Japan identified an emotional gap and treated it as a service need. Whether it feels practical or unsettling depends on perspective, but the system persists because it works, providing presence where life has left space empty. The smoking room that satisfied both sides. Debates on indoor smoking usually split between allowing it or banning it. Japan engineered a third option. In airports, offices, and malls, designated smoking rooms are sealed, negatively pressured spaces with advanced filtration. Air flows inward, preventing smoke from escaping when doors open. Smokers use the space freely. Non-smokers nearby experience nothing. It's not a compromise where both sides lose something. It's a solution where both needs are met. Japan approached the conflict as an engineering problem, not a policy choice. Instead of picking a side, it redesigned the environment so opposing preferences could coexist without interference. The mascot that generates $1 billion for a single prefecture. Across Japan, nearly every public body has a mascot, known as a Yuruchara. These characters range from charming to delightfully odd, yet they serve a clear purpose. Kumaman alone generates massive revenue through licensing, while Funashi turned a quiet suburb into a national name. They're simple designs, but highly effective. By giving institutions a recognizable face, Japan makes even bureaucratic systems feel approachable. It's not complex technology, it's identity design. Japan treats everyday interactions, even with government or agriculture, as experiences worth shaping. Sometimes, a drawing is enough to change how people connect with a place. The building that moves less than the ground beneath it. Japan sits on multiple tectonic plates, making earthquakes inevitable. Its most advanced defense isn't visible in the structure, but hidden beneath it. Base isolation systems use layered rubber and lead bearings between a building and the ground. When earthquakes strike, the ground moves while the building above experiences far less motion. Hospitals rely on this to stay functional during disasters. Decades of real-world testing have refined the technology, making Japan a global leader. Most people inside these buildings never notice the difference. The safety isn't obvious. It works quietly beneath them, reducing force, protecting structure, and keeping critical spaces operational when they are needed most. The building that disappears underground and holds 204 bicycles. Everything here shares one idea: questioning the ordinary. In Japan, the answer is often no. It doesn't have to work that way. Problems aren't adjusted. They're redefined. The EcoCycle captures this perfectly. You roll your bike onto a small panel, tap a card, and it disappears underground into a compact automated system. Seconds later, it returns only to you. No clutter, no theft, no compromise. The street stays clear because the problem no longer exists on the surface. Japan doesn't manage inefficiency. It removes it, often invisibly, and restores space back to people. Occupancy lights on bathroom stalls. Walk into a Japanese public bathroom. Walk into a Japanese public bathroom. Above each stall door is a small light. Green means available. Red means occupied. You see at a glance which stalls are open. No walking down the row pushing doors. No awkward shoe check under the gap. Just look up. This is a $1 sensor per stall, wired to the lock. The technology's existed forever. Hotels do something similar at elevator banks. Japan applied the same idea to bathrooms, and finding an open stall takes 2 seconds instead of 15. American public bathrooms still have you doing the walk and push routine, occasionally interrupted by a startled occupant who forgot to lock the door. Keys you can only remove when the door is locked. Japanese door locks, especially in apartment buildings, have a specific feature. You can only pull the key out when the door is locked. If the door is unlocked, the key stays in. So you physically cannot leave your apartment without locking the door behind you, because if you tried, you'd have to leave your key inside. This eliminates an entire category of forgot to lock the door anxiety. You walked away with the key. The key proves the door is locked. American door locks let you remove the key whether the door is locked or unlocked. So Americans have to remember to lock the door, verify they locked it, sometimes go back to check it, and occasionally show up at work still unsure whether they actually locked it. The Japanese system removes the question by removing the option. Convenience store chicken. That's actually good. Japanese convenience stores sell hot fried chicken from a heated case by the register. It's called karaage. Properly cooked, properly seasoned, served fresh in a small paper bag. Costs about $2. Millions of people eat it for lunch every day. American convenience stores sell rotating taquitos that have been on the heat lamp since the previous administration. The difference isn't ingredients. The difference is that Japanese convenience stores take food seriously as a category, with daily turnover, careful prep, and quality control. The infrastructure is identical. The decision to actually try is what separates them. Wet wipes instead of napkins. Japanese restaurants often hand you individually wrapped wet wipes instead of, or along with, paper napkins. The wipes are properly damp, actually clean your hands, and don't fall apart the moment they touch sauce. They cost slightly more per unit than napkins. They work miles better. American restaurants give you a thin paper napkin that absorbs nothing, tears immediately, and leaves your hands about as dirty as they started. Japan made the small upgrade. Toilets with sinks built into the tank. Older Japanese toilets often have a small faucet on top of the tank. When you flush, clean water runs through the faucet, you wash your hands, and the water then fills the tank for the next flush. The same water does 2 jobs. Water that was going to refill the tank anyway gets used to wash hands first. This saves a small amount of water per flush. Multiplied across 125 million people across decades, the savings are stupid huge. The plumbing is simpler, not more complicated. The technology is older than most Americans alive today. American bathrooms have a toilet and a separate sink, with 2 separate water lines, doing 2 things that Japanese plumbing combined into one fixture in the 1950s. Street cleaning. That actually happens daily. Here's something that gets me every time. Tokyo, a city of 14 million people, is cleaner than most American towns of 14,000. It's not because Tokyo residents are inherently tidier. It's because shopkeepers sweep the street in front of their businesses every morning. Not because a law requires it, because that's what you do when you have a shop. The amount of daily litter in any city is small if it gets removed daily. It becomes a problem only when it piles up. Japan removes it daily through distributed individual effort. America waits for municipal services that show up weekly, or sometimes never. The cost is 15 minutes per shop per morning. The result is a city that doesn't need industrial-scale cleanup because the dirt never gets a chance to accumulate. Reserving a seat with a bag. In Japanese cafes and casual restaurants, if you want a seat, you put a personal item on the chair. A bag, a coat, a book. That seat is now yours. Go order, come back. Your seat is still there. No app, no reservation, no host. The whole system runs on the social agreement that a marked seat is a taken seat. It works because everyone respects it. American cafes have the same physical setup and no such system. Leave to order, come back, your seat is gone. Or you stand in line holding your bag and your coat and your laptop bag while debating whether to risk leaving them. The agreement costs nothing. It just requires that everyone keep it. Shoes off at the doctor's office. A lot of Japanese medical offices ask you to take your shoes off at the entrance and put on provided slippers. The waiting room stays clean. The exam rooms stay clean. The medical environment doesn't get constantly tracked through with street debris. This is a free upgrade to medical hygiene. All it takes is a shoe shelf at the entrance. American medical offices have you walking from the parking lot straight onto the exam room floor with whatever was on your shoes. Japan added 5 seconds of slipper changing and removed the daily intrusion of outside contamination into clinical spaces. Handkerchiefs as standard equipment. Japanese adults carry a small fabric handkerchief in their pocket or bag. It's universal. Public bathrooms in Japan often don't have paper towels or hand dryers because the assumption is you brought your own way to dry your hands. The handkerchief is reusable, washable, generates no waste, and is always available. Public bathroom infrastructure can be simpler because users show up prepared. The environmental impact of not consuming millions of paper towels daily is enormous. America built its bathroom infrastructure around the assumption that everyone needs disposable paper. Japan built its around the assumption that everyone has a handkerchief. The cost of that assumption is one piece of cloth. School uniforms that kill fashion. Competition: Japanese students wear uniforms from elementary through high school. The uniforms get rid of daily decisions about what to wear, hide visible income differences through clothing, and prevent the social hierarchy that builds around fashion brand recognition. It's not about conformity for its own sake. It's about removing a daily friction point and a social comparison that has no academic value. The uniform is a small constraint that produces a big simplification. American schools have mostly chosen against uniforms in favor of dress codes that try to regulate the same thing through prohibition rather than provision. The dress code needs constant enforcement. The uniform only needs to exist. Free charging stations at train stations. Here's a small one that hits you the moment your phone hits 8%. Most major Japanese train stations have free public charging stations sitting right there in the open, not behind a paywall, not buried in some hidden corner near the bathrooms, out where you can actually see them, usually near the platforms or by the seating areas where people are already waiting. You plug in, you wait for your train, you leave with a charged phone. The whole thing costs the train station roughly the price of an outlet and a small kiosk to install. I've used them probably 100 times. Tokyo Station, Shinjuku, Kyoto, smaller regional stops nobody outside Japan has heard of. They all have them. The cables are sometimes built into the kiosk itself, so you don't even need to be carrying yours. You just plug into whatever connector your phone uses and stand there for 10 minutes while your battery climbs out of the danger zone. American train stations have benches. Sometimes. The assumption is you showed up with a charged phone, or you'll deal with it. If you're lucky, you'll find one outlet behind a vending machine that somebody else got to first and is now using to charge a laptop while watching Netflix. Otherwise, you're stuck. Japan figured travelers need power and gave them power. That's the whole logic. The infrastructure cost was minimal. The benefit, for millions of daily commuters who can now arrive at their destination with a working phone instead of a dead one, is continuous. It's the kind of small public service that costs almost nothing and quietly changes the entire experience of using public transit. Trash and recycling. Separated on every street. Wherever Japan has public trash receptacles, they always separate. Burnable, non-burnable, PET bottles, cans, paper. 5 categories, side by side, clearly labeled, used correctly by almost everyone. Japan's recycling rate is way higher than America's. Not because Japanese people care more, but because the infrastructure makes correct sorting obvious. The bins are there, the labels are clear, behavior follows. American recycling is a confusing patchwork of single-stream bins, regional rules nobody fully understands, and contamination rates so high that big chunks of recyclables end up in landfills anyway. Japan invested in the bins. Staff who bow when you leave a store. Walk out of any Japanese store, from a corner shop to a department store. The staff thanks you. They bow. They watch you leave with attention. The transaction ends with acknowledgement instead of indifference. This costs nothing. Takes 2 seconds. Changes the entire texture of routine commerce. The customer feels seen. The staff member performs a small ritual that maintains professional posture. The interaction has a shape, a beginning, and an end. American retail mostly abandoned this. You buy your thing, you leave, the next transaction starts before you've crossed the threshold. The acknowledgement is gone. The relationship between buyer and seller is reduced to the bare minimum. The bow at the door is the smallest possible signal that a transaction is also a human exchange. Of all the things on this list, this one might be the most telling. Because it's not infrastructure, it's not technology, it's not design, it's just attention. The simplest thing of all. I still think about that 7-Eleven counter in Osaka sometimes. The cashier with the patience, the little plastic tray, the look on her face when I finally figured it out. Nothing about that moment cost anyone anything. Nothing about it required any particular technology or institutional effort. It just required that someone, somewhere, sometime decades ago, decided the small thing was worth doing. And then everyone after them kept doing it. That's the whole pattern. That's all of it. Subscribe, and we'll keep finding them. See you next time.